He wanted to explode. It took everything in him not to manifest appendages and venom right there. There were too many unknowns. He had no confidence he could survive a fight with a Meridian Transformation advanced human. Still, no one who looked at Rose the way Amos did, who tried to buy her in front of him, deserved even a second more of her attention. He shook his head. No, I am not the brother. The answer was simple, delivered with steady eyes. Achilles stared directly at Amos, blue on blue, to make it clear. Amos only nodded. His gaze went colder as he turned back to Rose. You can have a few hours to think. Lightning crackled around him. Not a threat, but a tactic. Show the money, then give the ultimatum. Think very carefully. He named himself and his power. I am Amos of Titan Industries. My father is one of our largest shareholders. I command Evolution's strike teams. Decide in 5 hours. I will contact you. The message was blunt and deliberate. He wanted Rose to understand how small her options were. In Amos's view, she was a means to a prize. Achilles, the man who dared to stare back, was nothing but a corpse waiting to be buried. Amos walked away, thinking through contingencies. There were too many eyes here for a bold abduction, but he could send people to follow her or grab her later when she returned home. He pulled out his phone and spoke with calm efficiency. Prepare an extraction team. Place eyes on my location. Track every movement I send you. Every movement. He hung up with a satisfied smile. Rose Adrian, he murmured. She will be mine to pluck and control. Lightning danced in his eyes as he left a trail of plans behind him. Rose clutched Achilles' hand so hard it hurt. Her face was a map of worry and guilt. Little fatty, she whispered, unsure what else to say. She felt responsible. This was not a boss who could be quit and forgotten. This was a violent, powerful advanced human. How could she deal with him? Achilles squeezed her hand back and met her fear with a quiet answer. It's okay. He led her to Johnny Riker, who was being helped up by Amanda and had blood on his lips. The other recruiters kept their distance as if Achilles and Rose had been marked. Johnny looked apologetic and ashamed. I am sorry. I did not expect someone like her to be here. I will contact a higher-up at Golden Trading Company and see if they can help. Achilles did not want charity or favors. He had watched Johnny get tossed like a rag doll and learned the hard truth. Relying on others was fragile. He needed to rely on himself. Protection for his world, his Rose, required strength. Arrange transport to Catacomb Entrance 11, he said. His voice was calm, but every word carried resolve. Johnny blinked, nearly stumbling at the request. Achilles was serious. He had reviewed documents, memorized monster profiles, and picked a target. Entrance 11 was dangerous, but it also promised the materials he needed for assimilation. He would go longer this time. He would take what he needed until nobody could threaten Rose in front of him again. A fierce purple light burned in Achilles' eyes. Johnny and Amanda exchanged a look and then nodded. Catacomb Entrance 11 it is. Catacomb Entrance number 11. Across the vast sprawl of the colony city of Neon, dozens of catacomb entrances cut into the earth, doorways to the labyrinthine depths where evolutionist beasts roamed. The lower the number, the deadlier the beasts inside. Entrance number 11 sat on the threshold between danger and death. Strike teams led by Meridian Transformation advanced humans often entered through such single-digit gates, though this one was favored by the newly advanced, those still unsure of their strength. According to reports, the beasts lurking within were formidable even at the middle-tier body modification stage. Go a little deeper, and you risked meeting upper-tier or even Meridian Transformation level evolutionist beasts. Their name alone could send a shiver down a veteran's spine. Lightning Trance, codename Unbreakable Lightning Trees. Achilles scanned the file again as he and Rose stepped out of the aerial evolutionist vehicle that had carried them from the evaluation center to the mountain ring gate of Catacomb number 11. He'd chosen this entrance deliberately, a chance to assimilate an elemental attribute, lightning, raw and destructive. It was poetic, almost fitting to fight lightning with lightning after Amos. The Trans were infamous for their impenetrable bark, near impossible to pierce even for high-level strike teams. And while one struggled to wound them, They unleashed endless storms of electric fury from above. Many teams had been wiped out here, scorched to ash before they could retreat. Still, Achilles saw opportunity. The danger was real, but the reward was worth the risk. Amanda exited the vehicle behind them, her expression tight with concern. "Are you sure about this?" she asked, her voice low but urgent. "You've read the reports. These aren't beasts you can simply overpower. You could ask for help from the Linares Overseers or the Golden Trading Company. You don't have to throw your lives away." Her words tumbled out in frustration. To her, this was madness. Achilles was still new, and Rose, though awakened, had only begun to explore her power. The two of them walking into number 11 alone sounded suicidal. She looked to Rose, hoping for reason, but Rose only met her gaze with quiet determination, standing fully behind Achilles' choice. Amanda groaned softly and reached into her coat, pulling out a small metallic box that shimmered purple and gold. "This is an Evolution's storage box," she said, pressing it into Achilles' hands. "It can hold a few hundred crystals safely. Feed them in through one side, retrieve them from the other. It's yours." When Achilles tried to thank her, she shook her head. "Just come back alive. Johnny and I will do what we can from our end to keep Amos in check. No matter how powerful someone is, there's still law in this city." He gave a short nod and turned toward the looming gates, Rose's hand clasped in his. With their energy reserves, even a low-tier body modification advanced human could go a full day without hunger or fatigue. Achilles didn't plan to stay that long, but he was ready for whatever waited below. The military presence here was heavier than anywhere else. Dozens of guards in reinforced armor stood near armored vehicles and artillery units, all under the banner of the Linares Colony Overseers. If a ley line fracture broke out, this was where the defense line would form. As Achilles and Rose approached the checkpoint, the guards exchanged confused looks. Most strike teams arrived in groups of 6 or more, not 2. One of them frowned, checking his scanner as the pair flashed their identification. A low-tier and a middle-tier body modification advanced human, entering number 11 alone. "They're asking for death," the guard muttered under his breath. But by the time he looked back up, the two were already walking toward the portal, a towering swirl of blue energy at the base of a small mountain. A heartbeat later, they vanished into the light, into catacomb entrance number 11.
Hey everyone, Firescale Audiobooks here. If there's a novel you'd love to hear more of, you can support us on Patreon or Ko-fi. Depending on your tier, I'll make extra parts just for the stories you're most excited about. Usually I can only upload 4 to 5 parts of each novel, but with your support, we can go beyond that. And of course, don't forget to hit subscribe. It helps more than you know.
In front of a compound surrounded by massive tanks glowing with purple brilliance, a man in a dark suit held a phone in his head while looking into the distant entrance of the catacombs. "I can confirm that they have entered into the portal of entrance number 11, sir. Only the 2 of them." He spoke into the phone as a sharp voice filled with mockery rang out. "Just the 2 of them? Huh. She is more resourceful than I thought." Her green flames turning the low-tier target dummies to dust that quickly means she should be able to also take down middle-tier evolutionous beasts with ease, and a possibility of surviving against or pushing away an upper-tier evolutionous beast. But that guy beside her, he may just be as good as dead. All right, keep watching the entrance. They may be overwhelmed and come out soon, or if her power is as powerful as I suspect, they may be in there for a few hours until they are exhausted. Does she think she can get stronger this quickly to withstand me? Huh. The voice on the phone was a shrewd one as the man in the dark suit nodded his affirmation. His body pulsed with power at the upper-tier body modification as he continued to observe the catacomb entrance number 11 closely. Meanwhile, inside of it, whoa! Rose marveled at the tunnel-like appearance of the space they were in, as well as the 3 paths ahead of them that Achilles led them to the right one straight ahead. "You came in here all alone before. Don't worry, little fatty. I'll protect you now." Her gaze was resolute as she felt at fault for their current predicament, wanting to help as much as she could. Achilles smiled at how easy to read she was as he spoke to her, while his eyes glowed purple. Up ahead, He could see black vines beginning to coat the walls of the catacombs as they reminded him of the strings of cobwebs he saw before he came across evolutionist beasts in another area of the catacombs. I have regenerative abilities and can take a lot of hits. So, always stay far behind me and remain long-ranged. Okay, I'll burn them from a distance. Rose nodded with affirmation as they continued deeper. It gradually got darker as the cavernous space they were in began to open up wider and wider. More and more vines as roots of trees lining up the walls of the catacombs until, crack, they heard the booming sounds of thunder and lightning. Achilles became stern as he got ready, knowing that so long as he struck first and was able to assimilate even a single beast, he would gain their qualities and make things much easier. And of course, higher-level beasts caused the assimilation percentage to rise rapidly. As for the level of existence corruption value, it could be brought down by evolutionist crystals. He didn't plan to bring back that many evolutionist crystals to sell, if any at all, intent on seeing what would happen when 100% was hit for the organic crystals. As he was about to enter the larger area of this widening cavernous space. "Little fatty, be careful." Rose's soft voice echoed out as her hands began to burn with green flames. She kept a lot of blame for this in her heart, as she wanted to clear herself. And, she couldn't help but gasp when she and Achilles finally saw a massive creature in the distance. A creature that shockingly had a humanoid form, and yet its entire body was made up of gray-black, tree-like bark, as if it was a tree that just imitated a human form. A wrinkled face filled with anger was at the head of this lightning treant that also had blue crystals crackling with lightning. The tree-like hands of this treant also had tendrils of lightning crackling around it as in its hands. Blue crystals were embedded all over that seemed to pulse with a heavy source of power. Achilles looked towards it coldly as this far outside of the catacombs. This should be a middle-tier, evolutionist beast. His eyes shone with a purple radiance as he activated the exoskeletal armor. As he did so, he couldn't help but whisper behind him to Rose. "You would still like me even if I temporarily change, right?" He knew the answer. He just wanted to hear her say it. Rose rolled her eyes as his words caused her to calm down even more. "I will like you always, and I've been curious about these arachnida features you mentioned." Her eyes shone brightly with interest. After he heard this, Achilles activated appendage generation as not just 2, but 4 new limbs appeared under his arms. They were sharp, and they were lined with poisonous green light. The moment they came out, he silently climbed on the walls of the catacombs with physical adherence, finding that he loved sneak attacks a great deal to their safety. Rose watched him with her mouth hanging wide open as in no time, he arrived above the constantly moving lone lightning treant and dove down. Silently, and yet the moment he arrived inches away, the body of the treant lit up with lightning naturally, the crystals above its head shining as it finally realized something. But at that time, boom, Achilles' figure already struck down, his armored hands smashing onto the head and causing tree bark to fly out. His extra appendages struck out and sank into the body of this treant as they were successful in piercing its defenses, the sizzling of poison echoing out as the treant roared loudly. Scree! It was a wail of heavy pain as instantly its body cracked with lightning all over. This lightning smashed into Achilles as his body wondrously glowed with a purple light similar to evolutionist crystals, the ferocity of the lightning dying down tremendously as even Achilles was shocked at that. Was that the true effect of energy conversion? He asked this as while the lightning that should have heavily struck him disappeared, his body actually felt more energized. Oh, he couldn't help but yell out as he smashed his fist down while his appendages pierced even deeper and filled the evolutionist beast below with poison. And after just 10 seconds of its whole body crackling with lightning, but being unable to shake the enemy above it, this lightning treant crashed down while its blue crystals dimmed. Achilles let out a deep breath as from afar. Rose, who was watching everything in shock, came over. Damn, little fatty. She couldn't help but marvel. And Achilles felt a surge of emotions at being able to take down a middle-tier, evolutionist beast like this. one that many had trouble dealing with. But all the qualities he had assimilated made it possible. He smiled towards Rose as he spoke out. One more trick for you to see. He reached down to the corpse of the lightning treant under him quickly, because his thermoreception had already picked up another 2 treants coming towards this direction after the roars of this first one. He shouted in his mind as his hand came in contact with the lightning treant, causing arcs of red light to flash out. First, 3 evolucious crystals shot out of its head and melted, sinking into Achilles before the rest of its body melted and surged into him. Thereafter, a wondrous feeling of heat traveled throughout his body as alongside this heat. Crack! A bolt of lightning shot out above his head and lit up this dark space. A bolt of lightning was reflected in Rose's green eyes as Achilles' eyes flashed a shade of blue, quickly seeking out the status panel to see the changes occurring across his body. 3 middle-tier evolucious crystals were assimilated along with one body of a middle-tier evolucious beast, the lightning treant. The results were wondrous ones as alongside the surging heat, Achilles looked at what changes were coming on the panel only he could see. Achilles Maxwell. Assimilation, organic arachnid life form, echelon 1. Gained qualities of poison generation, appendage generation, exoskeletal armor, physical adherence, and thermoreception. Organic crystal, evolucious crystals, 18%. Obtained qualities of regeneration, energy conversion, flexibility, and light manipulation. Organic phanerogam life form, lightning treant, 20%. Obtained qualities of dermal armor, regeneration, photosynthetic, and lightning physiology. Existence corruption value, 8%. Complexity, negligible. The 3 middle-tier evolucious crystals brought his corruption value down to 6%, and it was then raised by 2% to come to 8% due to him assimilating a second object at the same time. But this second object was astounding as the corpse of the lightning treant gave him the assimilation of the phanerogam life form. Phanerogam, a type of plant that held seeds. Many plants fell under this category, and Achilles now gained their qualities as he obtained dermal armor, his skin feeling thick and nigh impenetrable as he did not know how tremendous his defenses became. He gained another quality of regeneration that only seemed to stack on the same quality from the arachnid life form, alongside the quality of photosynthetic. Photosynthetic. It meant he could potentially convert light energy into chemical energy in his own body. He could empower himself through light, and even likely produce oxygen with his own body. Likely, he marveled at these possibilities as the last one was the most astounding one. Lightning physiology. He closed his eyes as he genuinely felt within his body currents of lightning, waves of vibrant and explosive lightning as it felt like moving new fingers he didn't know he had, and when he raised his hand, whoa! A buzz echoed out as his hands crackled with blue lightning. No way. Rose came before him and nearly jumped up and down with excitement. And yet, ski! 2 booming roars echoed out from the distance as 2 more lightning treants rushed out. Rose looked towards them with a fiery expression as she called out, "I'll target the right one, little fatty. Let me see just how effective my flames are." She wanted to test out her own power. As the moment the ferocious lightning treants showed themselves, she raised her hand and threw off a flicker of green flames that instantly latched onto the treant before they instantly turned into a blaze around it. A cry of pain echoed out as lightning crackled around it. Achilles looking at the other treant that still rushed forth madly, as just like when he grew appendages with his thoughts or called out poison, he wanted to continue commanding his new powers with his thoughts alone as he began walking towards the rushing lightning treant while making a command in his mind. He imagined the currents of lightning contained inside of him, and he imagined them forming a heavy and thick bolt of lightning that flung itself towards the treant. And, boom! The purple cave was lit up brightly with the color blue as a thick bolt of lightning the size of Achilles' body smashed into the treant, flinging it backwards like a rag doll as it hit the sides of the cavernous space multiple times before it became entrenched in one side, twitching heavily, barely alive. Ooh, holy shit. His whole body felt the exhilaration of throwing out lightning as he looked at Rose. She was also laughing while pumping her fist up as the trance she targeted had already fallen down while burning to a crisp. Her verdant flames were truly too powerful, even at their current stage. Little fatty, I can take down a middle-tier, evolucious beast. She came up and hugged Achilles with pride before her expression slowly turned serious. If we can keep doing this, little fatty, we may not have to worry about that guy. She still remembered the threat outside of these catacombs. The man who had shot out a similar lightning bolt that flung Johnny Riker away in the same manner. Achilles nodded while going ahead, being strong enough at this moment that he didn't even feel the weight of Rose, who wrapped her hands on his back. No, we will make sure he isn't someone we have to worry about. He arrived before the trance, twitching but still alive after taking his lightning bolt, his extra appendages sinking into it to end its life before in the next moment. It turned into liquid goo that floated into his body, alongside the purple goo of its 3 evolucious crystals. He went up at the trance scorched by Rose and did the same as quickly. The assimilation of organic crystals reached 36%, and organic phanerogam life form became 60%. Existence corruption came to 6% from 8% after it came down by 6 due to the 6 middle-tier evolucious crystals, but was brought up by 4 due to the 40% gain in the phanerogam life form. So far, it was being kept low. He felt the vibrant source of heat inside of him get even stronger, while the currents of lightning inside of his body became thicker and thicker. He felt as if he was a box holding in waves of lightning that were only becoming more and more concentrated. When he released them with their increased concentration, they were bound to be extremely heavy. Let's keep going. He felt the exhilaration of it all as Rose climbed off of him while smiling. I'll burn them. You tag them. My flames seem to be particularly effective against them. Her eyes burned with a wild light as Achilles couldn't help but turn to her while they moved ahead speedily. This girl, she didn't like to burn things, did she? She seemed to be having a lot of fun with her new flames, as Achilles could only nod to himself at this. He always knew Rose was just a tiny bit crazy when she wasn't shy and holding back. She simply seemed to be coming back to her full self. Others were careful and cautious while entering the depths of the catacombs. But Achilles and Rose. It's 3 this time. Achilles sensed them up ahead with thermoreception as beside him, Rose's hair began to dance with green flames. I'll try a widespread, she shouted out as the moment the 3 appeared. SAA. 3 tongues of flames rushed out from Rose and landed squarely on the bodies of these lightning trants as all 3 combusted into roaring green flames right after. Their cries of pain wailed out as they threw bolts of lightning over. Achilles appeared in front of Rose and withstood these bolts of lightning, seeing them slowly disperse as they neared his body until only a tickling sensation came from what remained. And the currents of lightning inside of his body felt even more exuberant, as if they had just been refilled. He shot forward after that, as by the time he arrived before the lightning trance, they were already crumbling to the floor. Little fatty, I'll be your glass cannon. I don't think I can withstand even a single lightning bolt. But these trees are also feeble under my flames. Rose continued to have a vibrant expression as her cap had entirely turned to ash in her excitement. Her dark hair dancing with green flames as she appeared behind him while he assimilated 2 lightning trants first, mainly because he only had 40% remaining on the organic phanerogam life form assimilation. The moment the 2 bodies turned into goo and were absorbed by him, his own body crackled with blue lightning. The currents of lightning within him turned into thick tendrils that he felt like were coursing over his muscles and bones, just waiting to be commanded to strike out. The sensation of power he felt couldn't be described truly, as, apart from this, he felt the sensation like he could throw out a great number of bolts of lightning and exert himself powerfully for a long time. and he would not be too tired. This was due to something else he noticed as he looked at the panel in the corner of his eyes. Achilles Maxwell. Assimilation, organic arachnida, life form echelon 1, gained qualities of poison generation, appendage generation, exoskeletal armor, physical adherence, and thermoreception. Organic phanerogam, life form echelon 1, obtained qualities of dermal armor, regeneration, photosynthetic, lightning physiology, and abnormal endurance. Organic crystal, evolutions crystals, 54%, obtained qualities of regeneration, energy conversion, flexibility, and light manipulation. Existence corruption value, 2%. Complexity, negligible. The heavy feeling of endless waves of energy came from abnormal endurance, just gained from attaching the first echelon under the phanerogam life form assimilation. And yet, on the last area of the panel that listed his complexity, it still stated negligible. What is it, little fatty? Rose raised her hands to feel the lightning crackling around him and asked, I can't get a truly accurate estimation of my current power, but I feel like it should be far above a middle-tier advanced human. Advanced humans normally absorbed evolutions crystals to modify the power within their bodies until they became middle tier and then upper tier. To confirm their ranks, they would either have to fight against a captured evolutions beast or display a shocking power against materials equivalent to hardness to middle or upper tier evolutions beasts. But Achilles, he was quite literally eating the qualities of evolutions beasts and gaining abilities that made him even more powerful. Yeah, my little fatty could already have equivalent power to an upper-tier evolutions beast if that assimilating power of yours is as crazy as it seems. Won't we come up against an upper-tier evolutions beast if we keep on going deeper? We will confirm then. As Rose asked, she looked around them, where gradually more and more vines hung around as it felt like they were walking towards a forest. And cave around them opened up more and more as it became a wider space. Achilles clenched his hands, which felt explosive with power. He gazed at the remaining body of a lightning treant as he made a choice, this body turning into goo and becoming assimilated as well. He made a small goal. Get organic phanerogam, life form assimilation to the second echelon and see what changes would come. After this, the assimilation of the evolutions crystals hit 63%, while in front of the first echelon of the organic phanerogam life form, a 2.5% appeared. From a gain of 20% every middle-tier evolutions beast, it was cut down by an eighth to 2.5% to traverse to the second echelon. He would need 39 more middle-tier evolutions lightning treants to fully go to the second echelon of organic phanerogam life form. This seems somewhat achievable, right? After all, had it been less than 30 minutes since they entered? All right, we will carefully head deeper in. Achilles forged ahead, while Rose followed closely, the cavernous space continuing to open up ahead of them as they walked in silently, without coming across any other lightning treants. After walking for another 5 minutes, well, damn, Rose couldn't help but comment as the area ahead of them truly opened up. The ceiling rose as high as a 2-story building, and the space ahead of them became a full-fledged sparse forest. Well, not a forest. The trees filled with blue crystals in this sparse forest were alive. There were at least a dozen lightning treants up ahead in this wider space that were the same size as the ones they had come across before. And in the middle of this sparse forest, there was a larger lightning treant that was surrounded by a storm of lightning. It had massive blue crystals jutting out of its body, its face ferocious as it turned its blue eyes towards Achilles and Rose. Achilles became serious as he spoke seriously. You can release as much of your flames as you can, Rose. Everywhere, and as hot as possible. Dumb. He felt his heart beating loudly once more. He stayed in front of Rose to protect her, while his body became covered by an exoskeletal armor that covered half of his body now. Lightning crackled over him as at this moment he wouldn't leave her side. If any bolt of lightning smashed into her, especially from that massive lightning treant that was likely an upper-tier, evolutionist beast. He didn't want to think about it. So, don't worry, little fatty. Rose's eyes lit up with a light of burning as behind Achilles, tendrils of green flames began to gush out and senselessly fill the surrounding space. Roar! Multiple lightning treants erupted with bolts of lightning after that as they all surged towards them, Achilles acting like a conduit to take all of them on, as from him, thick bolts of lightning also erupted out. Verdant tendrils of flames surged into the wide space as the moment they caught onto a lightning treant. They burst into even larger flames that spread out all around. At the same time, the lightning treants in the distance threw out terrifying tendrils of lightning that all converged towards the two of them. Normally, a strike team of multiple middle-tier advanced humans led by at least one or two upper-tier body modification advanced humans would make a descent this far into the catacombs. Only a strike team like this had a chance of surviving, and even then, they had to be prepared. They had to make sure that the ability factors matched against these enemies enough, as there would be multiple tanks to withstand the elemental lightning strikes, damage dealers from the back, and a healer ready to reinforce anyone right away. And then there was Achilles and Rose. Ha, little fatty, look at them burn. Rose spread out her green flames freely as they already covered half of the sparse forestry, half of the middle-tier lightning treants being affected. And as lightning strikes thundered onto them, Achilles withstood them all. He raised his extra appendages wide to cover Rose from all angles, the lightning strikes that should have damaged him dissipating greatly in power before they smashed into him like ticklish blasts. And his body continued to be overloaded with energy as the energy conversion quality of the evolutionist crystals within him went nuts. And he released all of this budding energy outwardly as thick blasts of lightning that were even bigger than his body. These were his biggest and most potent lightning blasts after attaining the first echelon of organic phanerogam life form. And boy, were they more advanced than before under lightning physiology. Boom! A single thick lightning bolt struck a middle-tier lightning treant as shockingly, a wide open hole was blown on the chest of one treant while on another, their head was decimated and broken apart as only 3 evolutionist crystals fell down. A single blast of his thick tendrils of lightning could now one-shot the hard-to-kill middle-tier evolutionist beasts, lightning treants. Alongside the ones that Rose was burning, the middle-tier evolutionist beasts began to be cleared out quickly. Keep it up. Achilles' eyes were bright as he watched everything and made sure no accidents occurred. He kept his eyes on the upper-tier lightning treant that roared out maddeningly at this time, the storm of lightning around it keeping Rose's flames away as it grabbed one of the massive blue crystals jutting out of its body. Ski! It roared out while breaking this blue crystal apart, and it then flung it towards the two of them. Achilles did not let this crystal get close, as he threw a bolt of lightning towards it right away, managing to hit it a few meters away from them as, boom! It was akin to a bomb going off. The blue crystal broke apart into a circular blast of lightning that threw out sharp shards at the same time. Achilles feeling a prickling sensation as multiple of these shards embedded themselves in his exoskeletal armor before they fell off. You good? He confirmed with Rose, who barely poked her head out while she replied in a whisper. Yeah, I'm good. Only the big guy is left. All the dozen middle-tier lightning treants were either burned to a crisp or had half of their bodies missing from being blasted by thick bolts of lightning. Only the massive stature of the upper-tier advanced lightning treant remained standing as the main issue with it was getting past the storm of lightning on its body. I will focus all my flames on it, little fatty. Rose screamed out while her face became one of ultimate concentration. The verdant flames that were burning over the bodies of all other lightning treants surging out as if they were alive and leaping towards the massive remaining lightning treant. Ski! It roared out with absolute malice as while it did this. Achilles also went ahead and released the bubbling bolts of currents of lightning that he felt within his body and directed every single one of them towards this beast. His mind was churning rapidly as he thought about how he could quickly get past the lightning storm around this creature as a thought clicked within his mind. and he wondered. Since he could coat poison on his extra appendages, and he could control the bolts of lightning as if they were another pair of hands or fingers, could he also? He simply had the thought, and the moment the idea took fruit, he tried it. He pulled out a lightning bolt in front of him as before it shot out. He imagined this bolt being coated with venomous liquid poison. A moment later, the color green began dripping from the lightning bolt as he could only stare at it in shock before it shot out and smashed at the center of the lightning storm around the lightning treant. Boom! The lightning bolt filled with poison exploded in a spark of green and blue brilliance, as it seemed like it actively tore down a major section of the lightning storm. After seeing the scene, Achilles put his alarm and shock aside as he formed multiple more lightning bolts and coated them with green poison before they were flung out one by one. Different parts of the lightning storm rapidly deteriorated and broke apart until ultimately his lightning bolts began landing on the body of the lightning treant. At the moment this space was created, the flames of rose that were seething in the surroundings also found their point of entry as the entire body of this treant became aflame. Ski! It roared out maddeningly, but the moment that it allowed the fearsome bolts of poisoned lightning and the green flames to enter its body, its fate was sealed. It tried to break off the remaining massive blue crystals on its body to throw them out again, but the moment it grabbed them, a bolt of lightning smashed into them and exploded them on sight. This crippled whatever remaining chances this treant had, as in the next moment, it began to tumble down onto the burning forest floor. Its eyes were fierce as it burned. Its life was that much heavier than all the other treants, as it did not die right away. It looked at them heavily, as if they were any closer, it would tear them to pieces. After another few seconds, it could not hold up. It was a fearsome feat. 12 middle-tier, evolutionous beasts, and 1 upper-tier, evolutionous beast. If anyone else saw that such a large number of beasts were defeated by 2 people, one who just awaked earlier today, and the other one the day before, they would definitely not believe it. Even Rose shook her head as she looked at the devastation around them. Crazy. She was just a normal human not too long ago working mundane jobs and had only ever seen advanced humans on TV. She couldn't even aspire to one day be like them, as she had long since passed the age of awakening. But now, it's actually all real, little fatty. She spoke to Achilles, who nodded at her words, his breathing light, as even after this heavy battle, he didn't even feel like he broke a sweat. Regeneration, photosynthetic, energy conversion, abnormal endurance. All of these qualities seemed to be granting him an exuberant vitality to move freely as, at this moment, he did not find himself tired or exhausted. It's real, and I'll do everything I can to make sure it doesn't disappear. Yes, he liked where he was currently at. Finally, Rose accepted him. Finally, he was not losing her. Finally, he didn't have that sense of constant worry, of losing his job out of nowhere, of a ley line fracture occurring and making him lose everything. He did not want to go back to that as decisively. He went towards the corpses of the middle-tier lightning treants and began swallowing them up one by one. 3, 5, BZZT. The moment he assimilated 5 middle-tier evolutionous beasts, his body felt tremendously heavy and powerful as his skin began to pulse with purple radiance. For a moment, his skin even turned crystalline. He brought himself to a stop and sat down at the center of the wide space, right in front of the dead upper-tier evolutionous beast, Rose right beside him as she watched his scintillating skin. She saw his dark hair move around gorgeously as if it were alive, the purple radiance covering him, making his figure look gilded. Ancient. Cute. Rose found herself muttering unconsciously before she placed her hands on her lips and just continued to watch. After a few seconds, the light show stopped as Achilles opened his eyes, feeling an unknown source of power within the depths of his body that he could not fully explain. His eyes were naturally drawn towards the panel only he could see. Achilles Maxwell. Assimilation, organic arachnida life form, echelon 1. Gained qualities of poison generation, appendage generation, exoskeletal armor, physical adherence, and thermoreception. Organic crystal, evolutionous crystal, echelon 1, obtained qualities of regeneration, energy conversion, flexibility, light manipulation, and biological nurturing. Organic phanerogam life form echelon 1, 15%, obtained qualities of dermal armor, regeneration, photosynthetic, lightening physiology, and abnormal endurance. Existence corruption value, 0%. Complexity, negligible. His existence corruption value finally returned to 0%, as the biggest change was the assimilation of the organic crystals. The evolutionous crystals. It finally stepped into the first echelon, as the biggest change was biological nurturing. The moment he thought of this, he felt a unique purple glow cover his hands, as he felt like threads of information on how to use it were naturally budding within him. He thought of the evolutionous crystals again, a rare commodity, a resource from the evolutionous catacombs that changed everything for the world of Euthymia. It was the singular thing that every advanced human used to advance further and increase their power. He looked at the new quality of biological nurturing as he turned to Rose with a serious face and asked, "Do you trust me?" Trust, he asked, knowing it was a heavy question, but Rose smiled and nodded without even a second passing. She came to sit opposite him as he put his glowing purple hands out, the extra appendages he had grown out having long since fallen off the sides of his body, as currently. It was just him and her. They were seated in the middle of a dangerous part of the evolutionous catacombs, with the corpse of an upper-tier evolutionous beast near them, and 7 remaining corpses of middle-tier evolutionous beasts as their bodies glowed dimly with blue crystals. With such an atmosphere, Achilles grabbed Rose's hand and activated biological nurturing. "Tell me if you feel any changes." He was almost certain about it, but he still wanted her to confirm, as after committing to biological nurturing, threads of visible purple light flowed from him and into Rose. Her body began to soon glow purple as she breathed out with a sense of shock right after and replied, "I feel like the flame inside of me is visibly growing hotter, and the hotter it becomes, my whole body feels a burning sensation as if everything is becoming stronger." Her head became aflame as she said this, her eyes opening to look into Achilles' eyes. There was a hue of purple brilliance around them, as in her eyes, it felt like time stopped. She only saw him, the blinding purple light around him. She saw how earnest and caring his eyes were only for her. She noticed his hair. She noticed his smile. She noticed his lips. Feeling the surging heat within her, she may have truly just misplaced it, but at that moment, she leaned forward. She was the one who made the first move. Without knowing how or when, the only thing she knew was that her lips were pressing on Achilles. She felt him freeze momentarily in shock before a moment later, he returned the kiss, hurriedly as if he wanted to tell her that he didn't freeze for no other reason than because he was shocked. From their locked lips, Rose began to feel even more heat as threads of purple light glowed from Achilles' mouth and flowed into her, her entire mind buzzing as she entirely became lost in the moment. Meanwhile, her flames continued burning as they reached a terrifying degree of heat, her whole body rapidly being taken from the level of physical power of a low-tier body modification advanced human and towards the middle-tier body modification stage. Others faced terror and death within the evolutionous catacombs. And yet at this moment, through catacomb entrance number 11, Achilles and Rose shared their first kiss. And it was all occurring during a process of biological nurturing, as a human being was somehow replacing the role of evolutionous crystals to forcefully nurture the body of another advanced human at a faster pace. And it seemed even more natural. Rose didn't know if she felt dizzy from the transformation or from the kiss, but when she opened her eyes, all she saw was Achilles up close with his eyes closed. Was she weird for opening her eyes during the kiss? Such a thought passed through her mind as she blinked when she realized there were radiant verdant flames around both of them like a bonfire. They rose high and were much brighter than any of her previous flames as she instinctively broke off the kiss. Little fatty, she was worried as she licked her lips to enjoy the taste a little bit more, but she wanted to make sure that Achilles was okay. He opened his eyes right after and realized the flames around him, but to his defenses and skin, they felt like a warm heat enveloping him as he smiled. Rose breathed out a sigh of relief at that, as she also remembered what she had just done, her face turning a shade of red as she spoke in a low tone. "You made me make the first move, little fatty." She touched her lips as she remembered the sensation. "And either you're a really good kisser, or that glowing purple light makes things dizzyingly good." She gathered her bravery to say this as Achilles laughed and brushed it off. "Who knows? But how do you feel now?" he asked while still using his hands to allow an influx of a radiant purple light. He did not feel exhausted in any way, as he felt like his body was filled with seas of such brilliant purple light. Rose looked over her body and closed her eyes right after before opening them, while shaking her head incredulously. "You're crazy, little fatty. Do you even know the true extent of what you just did? The effects of the purple brilliance have lessened somewhat, but my body feels multiple times more powerful. My flames feel even crazier." The extent of what he just did. Effectively, he had taken an advanced human from the low-tier body modification into the level of middle-tier body modification, if not higher, in the span of a few minutes. He did not lose anything. He did not feel exhausted. Why were evolutionist crystals such a scarce resource? Why was a single low-tier evolutionist crystals worth so much? And what these crystals could do, Achilles could now do the same effortlessly. He thought about the true extent of this capability as he smiled. "If it can help protect you, I don't care what sort of ability it is. Nobody will know about it." Both Achilles and Rose knew that if it was discovered by the Linares colony overseers that someone within the colony city of Neon would do what hundreds or thousands of evolutionist crystals could do effortlessly, they would become the center of a storm that they may not be able to face. Only by becoming stronger can I make sure that I can protect us. I don't know to what extent I've grown now, but I want to keep going in. I want to see if it's possible to awaken a meridian as I keep assimilating more and more things. A small goal was made for him. Rose looked at his eyes, which had become fierce as she put her hand on his cheek. "I'm also here, little fatty. You can share some of the burden with me, too." They would do it together. Achilles was re-energized at this as he nodded, looking at the remaining corpses around them as he rose up to assimilate them, too. Continuing to assimilate evolutionist crystals seemed to be critical, if not for anything else but the ridiculous capability of biological nurturing. And Achilles knew he would gradually find more and more things to assimilate as he would continue here first. He assimilated the 7 remaining bodies of evolutionist beasts, as that meant 21 middle-tier evolutionist crystals were also absorbed. 3 middle-tier evolutionist crystals granted a 9% gain before, but now it was 1.125% in total. He saw the percentage in front of the organic crystals move to 7.875%. As for the organic phanergam life form, it moved closer towards the 50% mark. Then there was the massive body of the upper-tier lightning treant. He only looked at it briefly before he committed to assimilating it, as it turned into bright lights that soon flowed into his body. He closed his eyes to sense the changes as he came to a realization. The amount of energy that an upper-tier evolutionist beast held was significantly higher compared to a middle-tier one, with the number of evolutionist crystals alone within them actually being 6 instead of 3. 6 upper-tier evolutionist crystals. And of course, their bodies and composition were also much greater as they would contribute more towards assimilation. The changes brought forth were distinct even though he had only just begun climbing towards the second echelon of both organic crystal and organic phanergam life form. Achilles Maxwell. Assimilation, organic arachnida life form, echelon 1, gained qualities of poison generation, appendage generation, exoskeletal armor, physical adherence, and thermoreception. Organic crystal, evolutionist crystal, echelon 1, 13.785%. Obtain qualities of regeneration, energy conversion, flexibility, light manipulation, and biological nurturing. Organic phanergam life form, echelon 1, 55%. obtained qualities of dermal armor, regeneration, photosynthetic, lightning physiology, and abnormal endurance. Existence corruption value, 0%. Complexity, negligible. As of now, existence corruption value remained low. After ascertaining all of this and feeling the explosive waves of power hidden within his body, Achilles looked at Rose, who also seemed to be getting a feel of just how much stronger she had gotten before the two of them looked at each other, a decisive light flashing in their eyes before they turned to look at the deeper area of the catacombs that seemed to be delving even further down. There, more dangerous evolutionist beasts and situations waited for them, as if they navigated them well. The rewards would be enough to make them not worry about others ruining their small world they were building together. Outside of catacomb entrance number 11, a tall, well-built man in a dark suit had a cold expression as he spoke on the phone while staring into the distant catacomb entrance. "Yes, sir. Over an hour has passed now, and no signs of them coming out." On the other side of the phone, he was talking to none other than the lightning hand, Amos, who currently held a tablet that was replaying the evaluation video for Rose. He had the phone on speaker as he looked through the notes and watched the green flames again and again. If they have been in for over an hour already and they haven't come out, only one of two things is possible. Either the ability factor of this Rose is even much greater than we anticipated, as her flames can easily clear even these difficult lightning trance, or since both of them just recently awakened, they're struggling to go through and might even be heavily injured or killed the deeper they go. His eyes flashed with blue lightning as he thought of this. There was silence on the other end of the phone as Amos sighed while he looked at Rose's picture. "It would have been so much easier had you just returned to your home. In those slums, a little kidnapping would not have raised any eyebrows." "Huh, the slums. What the rich and advanced humans called the poor areas within the city of Neon, and the term used for areas where advanced humans could go in to do whatever they wanted without too much government oversight. If they had certain interests or unique types of entertainment, they could find them there." Amos stroked his blue hair back as he soon rose from his seat and straightened his suit while speaking to the phone. "All right. I am more inclined to believe that we may have underestimated what her flames could do. She is a unique elemental advanced human, as her unique category could be higher than many. So let's ensure we can get our hands on her. Losing a piece like her will be far too much of a loss. Call the rest of the strike team. We will dive into catacomb entrance number 11. "Yes, sir." An affirmative reply came as Amos craned his neck and looked at the vibrant blue meridian in his right hand. With it awakened, the number of things he could do as a meridian transformation advanced human opened up tremendously as he continued to test the limits. What leeway did a meridian transformation advanced human have in the colony city of Neon? As someone who could delve into the truly difficult catacombs and clear them routinely to ensure ley line fractures occurred, even the Linares colony overseers did not like to deal against them too much. And with his position in the Titan Industries, his leeway was that much greater. So he would continue to test it. He gazed down on the tablet screen as he zoomed in on the utterly ridiculous face of Rose when the explosion occurred that pushed off her cap in the evaluation room. The more he looked at that still image, the more his infatuation grew. "Wait for me, Rose." Heavy lightning crackled as he moved out. His destination was catacomb entrance number 11. Near this catacomb entrance, in a Linares colony overseer government compound less than half a mile away from it, a woman in a dark suit placed her fist on the center of her chest as she finished relaying all the information she had heard and seen so far to a large older man in a military uniform and a woman who was dressed all in black beside him. The subjects Rose and Achilles have remained inside catacomb entrance number 11 over this last hour, and we have begun to see movement as a few members of the Lightning Hand Strike team have already begun to gather nearby. It is likely that they plan to go in soon. The advanced human working under the banner of the Linares colony overseers finished her report as the burly older man in military uniform, who looked to be in his 50s, growled in annoyance. His right hand glowed with a fiery crimson light as he was a lesser meridian transformation advanced human, and even the woman clothed entirely all in black beside him also had a white meridian flashing gorgeously on her right hand as a stifling level of cold emanated from her. I could be doing many more things, but I've been sent here to monitor another potential high-class unique elemental. He turned towards the dark-clothed young woman beside him as he continued. Sticking me with one of you was not enough, as now they want me to train another. When I'm due for retirement too? Ah. He shook his head as he complained, but he understood why he had to do what he did. Beside him, the veiled woman had her eyes flash with a visibly cold light of frost as a sonorous voice rang out from her. If I'm such a baggage to you, Major David, I can leave any time. Cold words that instantly caused this major of the Linares colony overseers to cough and straighten up echoed out. Now, I was just complaining a bit. After all, the Noblesse, Golden Trading Company, and Titan Industries are stealing too many of the powerful advanced humans right under our noses. At times through threats and intimidation too. We can't have this trend continuing, as I've heard away from the city of Neon. These guys are even wilder in the colony cities of Dawn and Happiness. The Linares colony overseer will soon start tightening the rope, as it seems they have given these organizations too much leeway, and they start to think they could be kings within these colony cities. A great deal of information and intricacies flowed from the mouth of Major David. As for someone like him, there were far too many things to think about. What was occurring here was just one piece of a puzzle. He sighed again soon after as he picked up a tablet beside him that had pictures of Rose and Achilles, his gaze a frowning one as he thought about how to recruit these two, especially the woman who was a unique elemental advanced human, into the folds of the Linares colony overseers. Every day, the colony cities under the banner of the Linares colony overseers faced new threats. There were many gains, but there were always deaths. The Evolution's catacombs continued to be a source of power and a source of misery, as there were some Evolution's beasts that were simply too dreadful, and when left alone to breed over time, their concentration became too potent as ley line fractures occurred. And they affected the masses more than anyone else, as when one looked at the statistics of exactly where ley line fractures happen the most, they would come to startling conclusions. Major David sighed again before he rose up and looked outside of the compound. All right, unique elemental advanced human Eloise, codename Frozen Princess. I've taught you many things, and today's lesson will delve more into how to deal with other advanced humans. If any of this erupts into a fight, just follow my lead, okay? Major David spoke to the woman clothed entirely in black as she nodded, strands of her white hair barely visible to others as she looked out of the compound and towards catacomb entrance number 11. There, a silent storm that nobody could see seemed to be gathering. In front of catacomb entrance number 11, very few strike teams had the capability to enter gates, such as these, as a few hours could pass before another team went in, being starkly different to the catacomb entrances number above 20s or 30s, where many teams would routinely be seen going in or out. At this moment, after a middle tier and a low tier body modification advanced humans entered some time ago, a genuine team seemed to have formed in front of catacomb entrance number 11 that contained 3 lesser meridian transformation advanced humans and 5 upper tier body modification advanced humans. At the forefront was the lightning hand, Amos himself, as beside him, a slender man with a red mohawk had a fiery red meridian on his right hand pulsing with flames, and the other meridian transformation advanced human was a slightly wider woman that had a brown meridian flashing powerfully on her hand. The earth beneath her feet seemed to sink and move every time she did, as her control was reaching a terrifying degree. The other 5 upper-tier body modification advanced humans included 3 men and 2 women with cold expressions who looked around them. After confirming their gear, evolution storage boxes, and all other things to be clear, Amos began walking towards the dazzling blue portal without so much as a word as the others followed. The guards on either sides of the gates did not even bother asking for verification when they could see the dazzling meridians on 3 of the advanced humans here, breathing a sigh of relief after they passed and disappeared into the blue portal. Not too long after they entered, a military vehicle arrived as Major David stepped out of it and looked towards the catacomb entrance number 11, giving another heavy sigh before he tapped the car behind him. All right, let us go see what this mess will amount to. From the car, a unique elemental advanced human came out adorned entirely in black, her red lips opening to release white air of extreme coldness. Past the blue portal that suddenly had many entrants. The Lightning Hand Strike team came to a stop on a fork that had different paths as Amos coldly spoke towards an upper-tier body modification advanced human in the back. Cypher. He only called out their name, but they already knew their job as a woman clad in a middle-tier evolutionist body armor produced by Titan Industries came to the forefront and took off their mask, breathing in the nearby air before they released a green smoke to paint the floor of the catacombs ahead of them. The green smoke dispersed seconds later, but on the right side, there were two unique green footprints that flashed brightly, the woman pulling her mask up as she spoke out. This way. A tracker. Many strike teams had a tracker as, more often than not, they were used to gauge if any large groups of evolutionist beasts were coming or to track the movements of some. But in some strike teams, they were also used to track humans. The moment that Amos received the confirmation, he proceeded to the rightmost path, as he already imagined all the things he could do once he got his hands on a woman with standards of beauty that exceeded anything he had seen before. In the deeper areas through catacomb entrance number 11, I feel like we're bullying them, little fatty. The vibrant voice of Rose echoed out as her verdant flame spun in a circular motion to cause a spinning tornado around three roaring upper-tier evolutionist beasts, their lightning blasts actually being dissipated by the temperatures of the green flames as their tough exteriors began to melt from the heat around them. In the periphery, 22 corpses of middle-tier evolutionist beasts lay crumpled, over half having their bodies decimated by strikes of lightning as the others were burnt to crisp. After withstanding the storm of flames, the lightning around the three upper-tier evolutionist beasts was long faded as they wailed out, and massive bolts of poisonous lightning crashed down through the green flames soon after to decimate and destroy their last remaining defenses. In less than 30 seconds, the three upper-tier lightning treants breathed their last as silence came to the surroundings. The area was increasingly wider and wider as they looked like they were in a cavernous space filled with vines and growing trees, and the corpses of 22 middle-tier evolutionist beasts and three upper-tier ones now lay around them, as both Achilles and Rose came to look around them with determined expressions. Their incursion into the deeper areas of the catacombs had continued to be smooth so far, as they had cleared another cluster of lightning treants even before this, and they only seemed to be getting more and more powerful and numerous as they went deeper. But Achilles could not complain as already. Even without assimilating the corpses here, the percentage of assimilation of the organic phanerogam life form had spilled over 90. It meant that after these corpses, he would be well over the second echelon. Achilles Maxwell. Assimilation, organic arachnida life form echelon 1. Gained qualities of poison generation, appendage generation, exoskeletal armor, physical adherence, and thermoreception. Organic crystal, evolutionist crystal, echelon 1, 28.5%. Obtain qualities of regeneration, energy conversion, flexibility, light manipulation, and biological nurturing. Organic phanerogam, life form echelon 1, 92%. Obtain qualities of dermal armor, regeneration, photosynthetic, lightning physiology, and abnormal endurance. Existence corruption value, 0%. Complexity, negligible. Both the percentages of organic phanerogam life form and the organic crystals climbed higher, but the former continued to be faster and easier to raise as the evolutionist crystal assimilation remained a tough one, but its results were always shocking ones. Achilles looked at the 22 middle-tier lightning treants as he went towards them first, turning their bodies into liquid goo that flowed into him smoothly. After just 4 became assimilated, with each one granting a 2.5% addition to the percentage. This number was rounded off to 100% as once more his body felt an explosive surge of power from the depths of his being. But this was the biggest one yet, as it even exceeded the sensation when organic crystal reached the first echelon. It was organic phanerogam life form, stepping into the second echelon. Waves of green and blue lights covered his skin this time, as the features of plants and lightning from the lightning trance seemed to be fully entrenched within him. With Rose watching this scene with great interest until the vibrant waves of light settled down moments later. Even before Rose got a chance to ask anything, Achilles unbuttoned his white dress shirt as he caused Rose to blink multiple times, but he only took his shirt down to his shoulders. On the back of his right shoulder, there was still the tattoo of the head of a spider with 9 eyes that represented the organic arachnid life form. Currently, there was the addition of a tattoo of an evolutionous crystal that shone with a distinct purple light, and the tattoo of a tree with branches of lightning was the most vibrant at this moment. Whoa! Rose ran over and traced these tattoos with shining eyes as she asked, "Never could I have imagined you with a tattoo, little fatty. In the future, are you going to be tatted all over?" She asked while imagining Achilles with tattoos all over. He shook his head while replying with a smile, his eyes observing the changes under the panel. "You'll be the first and only one to know whenever I get new ones." He stated words that made Rose harumph with a happy smile, a few tendrils of flames dancing on her head while Achilles saw the changes on the panel. Organic phanerogam, life form echelon 2, obtained qualities of dermal armor 2, regeneration 2, photosynthetic 2, lightning physiology 2, abnormal endurance 2, and vine generation 2. Oh! His eyes lit up brighter than ever as he saw the changes for stepping into the second echelon of organic phanerogam life form. All precious qualities were heavily strengthened, and there was yet another addition of vine generation. He raised his hand and thought of this quality as, in the next moment, his palm had a fantastical green-blue vine emerge out of it. A thick vine that crackled with lightning. Its toughness alone should be crazy, as the more he concentrated on it, it extended outwards and even divided into multiple other vines that floated in the air, almost as if just waiting for a command to strike out. "Little fatty, you may just become the most versatile thing out there." Rose marveled at the vines as she touched the base, which flashed with lightning. Achilles knew her words would be true to a certain extent, as his mind flashed with possibilities when he saw the vines he could freely control like an extension of himself. If they could be considered extensions. He looked at the many corpses of middle-tier lightning treants and the massive corpses of the 3 upper-tier lightning treants, as with a thought, he made many more lightning vines that shot out rapidly and pierced into their corpses, as after that, assimilate. A flash of brilliant light bloomed as 16 middle-tier lightning treants turned into vibrant liquid goo that surged into him, and the 3 massive upper-tier lightning treants also underwent the same process. That was 48 middle-tier evolutionous crystals that added an additional 18% to the assimilation of organic crystals, and the 16 bodies of middle-tier lightning treants gave. Damn! He drew a sharp breath at the percentage. It used to be 2.5% for every single one when going towards the second echelon, and this was a decreased effectiveness by a factor of 8 from the 20% of going towards the first echelon. Now, from the second to the third echelon, it seemed the effectiveness was further reduced by a factor of 16, as from 2.5%, a single middle-tier evolutionous beast granted a gain of 0.15625%. So all the 16 corpses together generated a total of 2.5% toward assimilation. As for the 3 upper-tier lightning treants, each one contributed 0.625%, bringing the total percentage to 4.375%. This one will be a bit difficult. Achilles sighed as he looked at the one area that he looked forward to viably completing soon. The assimilation of evolutionous crystals towards the second echelon. The 18 upper-tier evolutionous crystals added another 18% and brought the total to 46.5%. He was nearly halfway there, as at this moment. Even though his body was filled with an overabundance of power, he didn't feel like any meridian was awakening. Of course, he didn't even have the knowledge of how or whether it was a natural process. But he was expectant of the evolutionist crystal assimilation to the second echelon, as this may just be enough. All right, we should be capable of taking down the upper-tier lightning trance even faster. We will accelerate our progress and see what the process of awakening a meridian actually needs. He looked forward to it, and Rose was right beside him with the same expectations as both of their figures shot out into the depths of the catacombs, the area ahead of them showing an even wider area with purple and blue crystals jutting out, the concentration of energy in the air becoming increasingly thick. The evolutionist catacombs held a great deal of mystery, even now. The deeper one went, the more terrifying beasts one would come across. What was unique was that only those who had passed through certain areas of the catacombs before would be able to say with certainty that a different tier of beasts were coming up. The Linares colony overseers had developed tools that measured the concentration of energy in the surroundings, and through tools like this, one could definitively say that they crossed into a region where certain types of evolutionist beasts could be found, like a line of demarcation between meeting middle and upper-tier evolutionist beasts, or a line of demarcation where if one crossed it, they may just start coming across meridian transformation evolutionist beasts. Sir, we have already crossed the threshold where upper-tier evolutionist beasts appear. The tracker, Cypher, had a troubled expression as she spoke and looked around them. There were barely any signs of battle. The whole time that their strike team, the Lightning Hand, crossed through the catacombs following the prints of two people, they did not come across a single thing. No drops of blood from any injured advanced humans. No blood or corpses. In catacombs, there were always corpses. Even after an evolutionist beast had its evolutionist crystals pulled out, its body would at most decompose in a few hours and sink into the floor of the catacombs. It had been less than 2 hours since the two advanced humans they were following entered, as they should at least be seeing the corpses. Is that unique, elemental, advanced human woman that much greater than we anticipated to the point that she's burning the bodies of evolutionist beasts to ash entirely? One of the lesser meridian transformation advanced humans with Amos, known as Giuliani, has a fiery red mohawk and a meridian that pulsed with crimson flames. He spoke his thoughts while at the very forefront. Amos crouched down with a cold expression as he replied, "Then we would at least see fucking ash." His reply was filled with annoyance, as it instantly caused a silent atmosphere to settle within the party. "Hell!" Amos rose while cursing as he looked ahead. She may actually be one of the rare advanced humans that every sane faction fights for, if she can even take down upper-tier evolutionist beast on her first day of awakening. But evolutionist crystals take time to absorb and modify the body. It means that she will only ever be able to handle up to the upper tier. What a find, what a find. You too, rush ahead with me. We cannot allow her any more leeway. His eyes flashed with blue lightning, as his expression was that of immense need. As if every part of his body craved that one advanced human that he had only met once. If he could turn such an advanced human and place them under him in his strike team. The rest of you, follow close behind as fast as you can. BZZT. Arcs of lightning covered Amos as his hand glowed brilliantly. His meridian flashed with a terrifying light as he shouted out with great speed. Giuliani following close behind along with the third meridian transformation advanced human woman who had a brown meridian flashing powerfully on her right hand. She was known as Beatrice. At this moment, her eyes met with Giuliani's as they both shared their sense of unwillingness and resignation. They had done worse things for Amos when he led their party. But to enter the catacombs, to hunt a unique, elemental, advanced human, it was a stifling sensation, but they could not do anything about it. They had gotten on a very rocky boat for a few months now, and they could not get off it no matter how hard they tried. So they forged ahead. In the depths, across catacomb entrance number 11, as Achilles and Rose went deeper, they expected the level of difficulty to increase as well. And when the next cluster of evolutionist beasts they met were 9 upper-tier evolutionist beasts, this came true. And yet, Achilles' versatility entirely nullified this difficulty. He didn't go in guns blazing, even though he had the power to do so. He told Rose he wanted to try something as both of them stayed far outside the scope of the small, sparse forest within the cavernous space filled with blue and purple crystals, hiding behind large, jagged purple rocks as Achilles released his vines across silently. They had mixed in with the forest environment silently, approaching the positions of these 9 upper-tier lightning treants who were none the wiser. The storm of lightning around them was faint when they were in their natural state, and after confirming a very close distance, Achilles had the vines he controlled shoot out to pierce and wrap around the 9 upper-tier evolutionist beasts simultaneously. The vines then lit up with heavy blue lightning and green poison, piercing deeper into the bodies of these beasts and even constricting them as when they try to break them or smash them with lightning. They were entirely resistant. They seemed unbreakable. These were the vines from Vine Generation 2 reinforced with a dermal armor 2, an exoskeletal armor, and a terrifying endurance on top of the qualities of flexibility and energy conversion from the evolutionist crystals. It caused the unbelievable scene where 9 massive upper-tier lightning treants roared at an unseen enemy, became poisoned and smashed with heavy strikes of lightning, and less than 30 seconds later, they succumbed and fell down lifelessly. Even Rose could only look at Achilles beside her wordlessly, as she had no words. This was too crazy, was it not? Would a single upper-tier body modification, advanced human, be capable of doing what Achilles just did? The answer was a resounding no of impossibility. Maybe a meridian transformation advanced human could do something like this? Rose spoke out hesitantly, as Achilles couldn't help but shake his head. Maybe. He still didn't feel any sensation of a meridian being awakened. And since his vines were already wrapped around the 9 upper-tier evolutionist beast, he silently voiced out his intent to assimilate them as brilliant liquid goo surged out and flowed into his body from different directions. His body became illuminated with another burst of radiance as he noticed in the corner of his eyes. The percentage in front of the organic crystal surged towards 100%, towards the second echelon. Achilles Maxwell, organic crystal, evolutionist crystal, echelon 2, obtained qualities of regeneration 2, energy conversion 2, flexibility 2, light manipulation 2, biological nurturing 2, and crystal manipulation 2. Assimilation : organic phanerogam life form echelon 2, 10%. Obtained qualities of dermal armor 2, regeneration 2, photosynthetic 2, lightning physiology 2, abnormal endurance 2, and vine generation 2. Organic arachnida life form echelon 1, gained qualities of poison generation, appendage generation, exoskeletal armor, physical adherence, and thermoreception. Existence corruption value, 0%. Complexity, negligible. In front of biological nurturing 2, there was the stupendous addition of crystal manipulation 2. And alongside this, there was a buzzing feeling throughout his body. To explain it was far too hard, as at this moment, his whole body felt a sensation of fullness, as if he held a terrifying amount of concentrated waves of energy and power, that his body was like a shell that was reaching its maximum capacity, that something else had to be open to aid in adjusting and accumulating to all this power. He felt the incandescent purple light of evolutionist crystals coursing through his body, bathing every single part of him, as he could only feel a pulse every few seconds after this purple brilliance cycled through him, as if it was doing something far too profound for him to even understand. But as he felt this level of fullness, he understood that meridian transformation was not far away. The dense purple brilliance coursing throughout his body simply seemed to be doing something extra before meridian could be opened. Was it due to the multiple types of qualities and assimilations he held? Was his body considered different compared to other advanced humans, and thus the awakening of meridians took a somewhat different route? He didn't know for sure, but he did have someone here that he could confirm everything with. He opened his eyes to find her staring at him with expectation and concern behind the jagged rocks they hid behind. Any big changes? I've been watching your hands to see if a meridian would suddenly bloom. She came up before him, and moved her head up and down as she checked him out, and he couldn't help but smile as he took a step toward her. She was startled, her figure stepping back and feeling the wall behind her as she blinked multiple times when she realized how close he was to her. "Lit fatty, what are you doing?" Her heart beat faster. Her face flushed as her hands fidgeted. Tiny wisps of green flames began to rise around her head as she looked utterly mesmerizing. Achilles saw all of this as he realized Rose didn't know just how deadly these small movements of here were, and he spoke out in a low tone as he exercised a great deal of self-control. "You made the first move, so I want to make the next one." His words were blunt as all of this was new to him. He couldn't say that he knew what he was doing, so he simply followed his heart and said what he felt as after that. Rose looked down shyly and nodded. When he saw that nod, he raised her chin up as he didn't even remember how, but his lips met hers right after. It was like fireworks. Maybe fire did explode between them, and he just didn't see, but he closed his eyes to enjoy the sensation while bringing his hands to hug her body, and in the next moment, waves of extremely pure purple brilliance flowed from his mouth and surged into Rose's body, her figure becoming illuminated with verdant flames right after. For Achilles, it was like he was lost in an entirely different world. For Rose, she nearly felt as if the bones in her body were no longer working, as if her whole body would just crumple and fall into Achilles' hands right after. The sensation was that good. She did her best to control herself and not make any sound as she felt the intensity of her flames surging higher and higher, her own body feeling like a heavy reservoir that held these rising flames to the point that they could not contain them any longer. She wanted to tap on Achilles to let him know that she was full, but she was too lost in the mood to control her body as the flames within her seemed ready to overflow. At such a moment, BZZT, the flames gathered in her right hand as if they were looking for another way. They coiled in her right hand as if they found something, and they focused on a small point in her right hand and very soon lit that point up, Rose feeling as if a valve was open to a place the flames could rush into. As they did just that, they surged into a pathway, a road in her right hand that she never even knew was there. It felt like a channel of a vast river that was contained within her body, and this river was accessed for the first time as it hungrily took in all the green flames. It pulsed with a heart-shaking power as she felt a feedback from this brilliant river to her body right after, a unique sensation being released from it to wrap around her as she felt her flames reach another octave of power. Purer, brighter. On her right arm, a radiant vessel like river formed from her shoulder and extended throughout the hand, going down all the way towards her palm as there. It branched out into small, faint lines that extended towards her fingers, like a connection of invisible vessels. At this moment, on her right hand, a meridian was awakened as it buzzed with brilliance and caused a terrific explosion of heat in the surroundings, even the nearby stones starting to melt. And all of it came from a kiss, as those involved in it were in their own world. In the middle of complex emotions, a meridian transformation was born. He didn't know how long it had been. He only remembered that he started using biological nurturing to the moment after he kissed Rose, transferring waves of the pure power relating to evolutionist crystals into her. Thereafter, his sense of time seemed to have been warped as when he came to, he realized that he was falling. The rock wall behind them had actually melted as their figures were falling back, and Achilles released vines shaped like a hand that cushioned their fall. Rose was below him as she breathed heavily, her heart beating like a rabbit as her expression right now was enough to make him imagine dangerous things. But he recalibrated his mind as he remembered where they were, getting off of her and helping her sit up on the hand of vines. "You?" She wanted to say something, but she seemed too embarrassed to do so as her hair burned with green flames, her pupils radiating an even more iridescent green glow as she leaned her head on Achilles' shoulder while collecting herself. She looked out towards the cavernous catacomb around them as she regained her voice. "Little fatty, you're going to make me a shy girl who can barely look at you in the eyes if you do things like that." She could only say this as she remembered everything that had just happened clearly. And yet beside her, Achilles seemed as stable as a rock, as he also replied in a low tone, "I don't think that's possible." For Rose to be shy enough to not even look at him in the eyes, he knew that he didn't have the charm for that. Rose rolled her eyes at his words, as she truly didn't think Achilles knew the power he had and just what he could make her feel, and she nodded to herself to use this time to at least gain a semblance of control that seemed to be slipping away little by little. She stood up on the palm of the constructed vine and looked at Achilles with a determined expression, nearly faltering when she saw his earnest eyes that looked at her like nothing else existed around him. When she saw such a level of emotion, she wondered if she was worth such a thing. She only froze momentarily before she steeled herself and continued. As the older one in this relationship, I will steer the ship towards grand directions and avoid any invisible icebergs." "Oh." Achilles raised his brows with a smile as he looked at her up and down, and she nodded defiantly while meeting his gaze. He raised his hand in defeat as he leaned back on the constructed vine palm and looked at the ceiling of the Evolutions catacombs. "All right, you're the captain of the ship, Miss Rose Adrian. I'll follow your lead." He said such words as Rose nearly lost the control she was trying to establish, coming down beside him again as they enjoyed a precious silence. It was a moment of peace, something he felt like he could not buy anywhere, something that felt invaluable. He wanted a moment like this to last forever. He did, but his eyes were too drawn to that vibrant green meridian flashing on Rose's hand as he couldn't help but trace it. How does it feel? Meridian transformation. While his own body felt full and constantly undergoing change, he was able to use the biological nurturing 2 quality to actually transform Rose's body enough to the extent that she opened her first meridian. It seemed like a secondary product, as he felt like his biggest accomplishment was that kiss. Rose blinked as if she finally also remembered the tremendous power up her body had just obtained as she flexed her hand while sitting up. How do I even explain it? It's like an engine or an organ I never knew I was turned on. It pulses every second to release these heavy waves of power, and it's like I can draw out a tremendous amount of power from it whenever I want. She moved her hand around as she traced the meridian with her own fingers, marveling at its radiant glow. An engine or an organ? Achilles repeated her words and nodded, as this description was unique. Rose had such a thing as her flames had even melted the rock wall behind them, and yet he only felt a smidge of warmness. These were the flames of a meridian transformation advanced human, a unique one like Rose at that. If his defenses were that robust, did it mean that even before awakening his own meridian, he could match A? His figure rose up suddenly. His eyes became stern and heavy as he looked out far behind them. "Rose!" He called out to Rose beside him, who was startled by his change. But his gaze became increasingly serious as the thermoreception quality from the organic arachnida life form picked up 3 sources of heat rapidly approaching here. 3. One vile sensation that felt distinctly familiar. And in a few seconds, BZZT, a man clad in lightning, stopped at the entrance of the wide, cavernous space they were in, his figure adorned in an evolutionist armament that looked like a reinforced suit. He had a vibrant meridian on his right hand as moments later, the figures of 2 others with a lit-up meridian in their hands also appeared. A slender man with a red mohawk and a crimson meridian, and a slightly wide woman with a brown meridian. All 3 arrived and stared ahead in stupefaction as at the forefront. The visage of the lightning hand, Amos, shook his head with incredulity as he actually began to laugh right after. What the hell? Like really? His eyes were locked onto Rose and her right arm, as if he were staring at the most prized thing he had ever come across. The moment they appeared, Rose became stern while standing right beside Achilles. But Amos continued to laugh as he shook his head with a sense of obsession and incredulity. "You just awakened today. Do you realize that? And now, you already have an awakened meridian? Even the priciest induced acceleration body modification program in the city of Neon can't do that, you know." Dangerous blue lightning flashed around him as his gaze became that of utter infatuation. Amos looked towards Rose as if she were a prized object he could not miss out on, his voice thundering out as he began to walk forward. "What is your answer?" rose Adrian. "The contract and everything else is ready, as I don't think I can wait any longer." His voice was booming, but in its loudness, he failed to realize something. The person he was not even looking at besides Rose. The man he ignored while he roared at the woman beside him. His eyes became entirely covered by a dangerous purple light as out of nowhere, a lightning bolt covered with incandescent lights of blue, green, and purple flashed. He always got everything he wanted. This singular sentence encompassed the life of Amos, as with his father's ranking and position in Titan Industries. His life was a smooth one. What he wanted, he received, and a unique, elemental, advanced human that had awakened a few hours ago and already reached meridian transformation. That was something even the Linares colony overseers would rush to lock down. He hoped that he was not too late to control her as his brain churned quickly. Having attained meridian transformation, her power may even be near his, even though his body should be much stronger due to the continued feedback and transformation of the meridian these past weeks. She might be tough to pin down this way, as another method was something she cared about. "Oh, is the rat I saw hanging around her actually going to be of use?" His eyes shone as he walked forward, finally remembering the insect he already considered dead, as he could also be used as a point to threaten. Amos was finally about to turn his head left to look at that insect, as, he was barely able to blink before a massive bolt of blue, green, and purple-covered lightning bloomed before his eyes. His meridian instinctively flashed a gorgeous blue as a layer of light covered his body, and, boom, a heavy impact echoed out across the cavernous space as his figure felt like it was smashed by a runaway train, and he was flung back with such force and motion that he smashed onto the wall of the catacombs while gasping out in shock. "Gah!" He breathed in and out while looking around, lightning covering his body all around. When he looked down on his chest, he found a horrific scorched impact as the armament he wore was pierced through, his chest feeling searing pain as his skin was scalded and nearly melted. What the hell? He looked around again as Giuliani and Beatrice rushed towards his side, Amos' expression heavy as he saw his skin continue to peel. He reached out into his pants to pull out a vial holding vibrant red liquid and swallowed it all down while beside him, Beatrice erupted with a brown-green light that washed over him as finally his skin stopped peeling as the pain lessened. He continued breathing out heavily while looking around for unknown enemies, but it was only Rose, Adrian, and Achilles Maxwell ahead. One used flames, and the other was a physical reinforcement advanced human of the low-tier body modification stage. So who the fuck just threw that terrifying bolt of poisonous lightning that actually bypassed the defenses of his meridian? "Show yourself," Amos bellowed out with seething rage while continuing to look around, Beatrice conjuring a dome of earth around them, while Giuliani's crimson meridian flashed and released a wall of flames all around. And yet, nobody revealed themselves, because there was nobody else here. Their expressions were heavy as their gazes turned back to Rose and Achilles. If there was nobody else here, it had to have been them. Was it Rose herself? Had her power risen to this level already? Amos raised himself up with an enraged appearance as he looked ahead straight at Rose. But in the next moment, the figure of Achilles appeared in front of her and covered her body entirely as he looked ahead. His eyes brimmed with a cold purple light as he finally spoke out after all this time. "We are not interested in joining you or your Titan Industries. We would appreciate if you would leave us alone." Leave them alone? They weren't interested? These words felt foreign to Amos as he rose up dominatingly while lightning crackled around him, his expression hardening as he kept his awareness spread out to be ready for anything. "Leave you alone? That is impossible. And a rat like you has no ground to speak here, as you need to move the hell back and let that woman behind you speak." Did you really throw that attack at me just now?" His expression was livid. In the distance, Achilles saw it as his insides burned. He felt rage. He felt anger. He wanted to act out right away, as even at this time, he was restraining himself. He knew that inside a catacomb, It was a lawless place. Advanced humans could do anything they wanted. He didn't think this guy would even obsessively follow them here. And now, he said it was impossible to leave them alone. All this obsession, just for Rose? Little fatty. She pulled on his hand behind him, and even without turning around, he knew that she felt guilty. Once more, she thought her looks were getting those around her in trouble. If she continued to think like this, she may just go back to reinforce that line of thought of hers that misfortune fell on those around her. She might even push him away. All of this caused by the obsession with a guy they only just met today. He couldn't have such a thing. So, Rose, there will be some crazy people in this world, but whatever they do has nothing to do with you, okay? He spoke to her firmly to make sure she didn't start to feel guilty. Rose, can you promise me something? He spoke out seriously. He waited for her answer seriously as he felt her nod. Can you promise me that whatever happens in the future, you will stay beside me? Even if the whole world turns against us, it will just be me and you. This was all he wanted, all he ever asked for. Rose seemed to only struggle for a second before she nodded, wiping away the tears in her eyes. Yeah, little fatty. Just me and you. Just him and her. The moment this was affirmed. Hey, are you all having your own private conversation in the middle of all this? I fucking asked you, did you? Amos had begun to yell out again when he was forced to stop as around Achilles and Rose, multiple thick and terrifying bolts of lightning formed. Achilles had a decisive expression in his eyes. This foul guy said that it was impossible to leave them alone. So, he simply had to erase this impossibility. He did not want to do it. He asked to leave them alone. He knew this guy had the backing of an unknown, powerful advanced human behind him, and was even part of the so-called Titan Industries. But he was threatening Rose. He was threatening his world. So regardless of what was behind him, he needed to disappear. A glorious, incandescent flash of lightning bloomed alongside the rumbling of thunder. A volley of lightning radiating waves of green, blue, and purple. They filled up the cavernous space as one. They proceeded to give a very clear answer as to who had thrown that massive bolt of lightning that smashed Amos back. 2. Such a volley caused their expressions to turn heavy and somber as in Amos' eyes. A memory flashed. 2 weeks ago, they had carefully delved into a single-number entrance before they faced a lesser meridian transformation evolutionist beast. A single one needed an entire team to take down as their capabilities were heavy, and almost all of them held elemental aspects. Amos remembered that even when he faced lesser meridian transformation evolutionist beasts, their barrage of elemental attacks did not seem as heavy as what was currently being thrown at them. His eyes turned extremely somber as his hand vibrated like an engine, tendrils of blue lightning erupting from him as he moved behind Beatrice, who was encased in an earthen wall. Layers and layers of lightning came to cover him, as he could only do this much before. Boom, boom. The multiple bolts of different colored lightning arrived, and they came with utter devastation, some distance away from this point of explosion, towards the direction of catacomb entrance number 11. The figures of Major David and a dark-clothed woman radiating waves of frost had caught up to the 5 upper-tier body modification advanced humans from the Lightning Hand Strike team. Major David knew their purpose here, as after catching up with them, his crimson meridian flashed with a terrifying glint as he spoke towards them commandingly. Head back out. We will be bringing Amos and the others back soon from this foolish endeavor. His words were like orders, as with his power and position as a major in the colony city of Neon. He was akin to a rule of law that advanced humans had to obey. And so they looked at each other as they weighed the pros and cons of leaving Amos behind until they ultimately sighed and turned around to head back. It was around this time that, boom, heavy explosions that even shook the catacomb walls this far out resounded. Major David's eyes flashed toward the party of 5 that had momentarily stopped. I said, turn back. Waves of heat arose from his roar as the upper-tier body modification advanced humans listened and ran out. His expression was heavy as he turned towards the young woman he was tasked with training for a great purpose. Stay close and do what I do. We will likely need to incapacitate anyone who does not listen. If it comes to it, You can break the limbs or freeze them in your case. But no killing. Understood. He was already charging ahead as he spoke, and the woman shrouded in a dark garment nodded as she followed close behind. Both of their meridians flashed powerfully as they surged ahead, taking less than 30 seconds at full speed to arrive at a widening cavernous space that showed crackling and decimated walls of the catacombs. A scene of devastation. Major David saw dust and arcs of lightning still crackling in this area as his gaze changed, his arms moving forward as he smashed his hands in a clapping motion to cause a huge gust of heated wind to clear up the space. And he saw a scene that caused him to do a double take. The figure of Amos could be seen with his left arm missing, his body riddled with dark green, crackling lightning that seemed to be causing spasms all over his body. Not too far from him, the heaving body of slightly wide woman trembled on the catacombs floor, while another body with a red mohawk had half of its face melted from crackling, poisonous lightning. Dead. The crimson meridian on his hand slowly dimmed as his eyes still showed immense shock and surprise. It was a scene of true devastation, as even Major David couldn't fathom how it came to be. But before he could even look around any further, his eyes were drawn back towards Amos. With only his right arm remaining, his eyes held waves of rage as his hand currently grasped a black crystalline flower. A simple black flower. And yet when Major David saw it, his expression deteriorated as even he became enraged, and he shouted out towards Amos, "Don't do it!" A heavy roar. At the same time, he roared out. Major David did not notice that there were a dozen vines that had already approached Amos and were about to strike out. His roar caused these vines to halt momentarily, and in that halt, crack, the crystalline black flower in Amos' hand was crushed, a blinding obsidian light flashing and illuminating all of the walls of the catacombs nearby. Major David became ashen at this scene as he charged towards Amos angrily. "You fool! Why do that? Why you have a devil crystal, and why would you break it here?" A devil crystal. Something only a select number of advanced humans who had access to restricted information knew about. It was something that naturally came out of the catacombs. A deadly item that even the most powerful meridian transformation entities treated with care. And yet, Amos had it, and he actually broke it. BZZT. Major David's body hit the air as Amos was carried by a current of lightning off to the side. He looked towards Major David and the woman who carefully walked towards them, and his enraged yet calm gaze then turned towards the distant Rose and Achilles in the distance as his voice echoed out. "I actually made a grievous miscalculation on the power of newly awakened unique advanced humans. It has cost me an arm and nearly my life, so I am naturally enraged. Goodness, am I fucking enraged?" As he spoke, their surroundings began to tremble as behind Major David and the unique elemental advanced human, Eloise, the path leading out of the catacombs collapsed. The expression on Amos distorted as he continued while looking at Rose and Achilles. "But a man must know when to cut his losses. Since I do not know much about those I was hunting, I would rather keep my life first. Since I cannot have that ridiculously gorgeous woman there, it is also best that she be buried here along with the one that threatened my life." His reasons were ridiculous, and yet he stated them so simply and crazily as he dug into a compartment of his clothes and pulled out a 9-pointed purple crystal this time. Major David's eyes flashed with shock when he saw this as well, but there wasn't even time for this. Amos turned to him coldly as he continued. "I did not expect there to be witnesses here when I did this, so I genuinely hope that you all get buried here so I can leave this mistake behind. And you—" He turned his head towards the distant Rose and Achilles who were looking at this changing situation without making too many moves. Amos seemed to be etching Rose's face into his pupils as he sighed with regret and rage. "I didn't get a chance to enjoy something like you, as this is a major loss." BZZT. Multiple bolts of lightning formed around Achilles as he began speaking like this, vines that were on the ground also shooting out like snakes as Amos was shocked, quickly crushing the 9-pointed crystal he held in his hands. A vine laced with poison only barely just managed to pierce into his body before he was wrapped up in a purple radiance and disappeared. He left behind confusion and a cavernous space that shook even more, the area leading outside of the catacombs having collapsed. Shit! Major David cursed out as he looked toward Achilles and Rose. The two of them had a mixture of heavy emotions right now, as Achilles was processing everything he had done and not done. He saw the unmoving body of the advanced human with a mohawk, the heaving body of the other advanced human that was slowly dying of poison, and Amos, who seemed to have entirely teleported away from here, and the newly arriving advanced humans, especially the one in a suit that held a marking of a half-moon that made him a force of the Lenars colony overseers. His appearance caused his attacks to stall as he didn't get to finish off Amos. And because of that, Amos had crushed a black crystal flower, and then a purple 9-pointed crystal that then teleported him away. The black flower seemed to be something extremely serious, as after seeing the collapsed pathways where they would normally get out of the Evolutionist catacombs, Achilles looked towards the enraged Major David, who cursed while asking them, "You two, Rose Adrian and Achilles Maxwell, yes?" His voice was heavy as he walked toward the heavily injured woman with a brown meridian, and Achilles looked at Rose before he nodded and replied, "Yes, we were only defending ourselves from them, Dash. That doesn't matter now." Major David yelled out as he shook his head when he felt the weak life force within the meridian of the heavily injured woman. He beckoned the dark-clothed woman behind him to get closer while he looked towards the end of the cavernous space, the area one would have to cross to get into the depths of the Evolutionist catacombs. What matters now is for you all to understand exactly what is about to happen. I am Major David, and this is Eloise. I don't know how that young lady has already awakened her meridian when she awakened today, nor how you, without a meridian, was able to defeat Amos. But all of that may just give us a chance of living. Heavy words echoed out from Major David as Achilles and Rose became somber. Just what had Amos done? What was that devil crystal that was being shouted about? That shit-stain Amos crushed what is called a devil crystal, a devil stone. An evolutionist crystal tainted with chaotic energies found within certain areas of the catacombs. When such a crystal is crushed inside a region of the catacombs, it causes the entry point of that area to collapse while drawing in all evolutionist beasts nearby. A devil stone. Amos actually utilized such a thing, while he himself used another treasure from the catacombs to make an early exit, since the only entrance was collapsed. Achilles became somber at this explanation, while Major David came closer to them. His gaze was heavy and serious, filled with immense regret as he cursed. He looked towards a unique elemental advanced human, Eloise, and he couldn't help but shake his head. If they all died here, it would be such a major loss to the Lenars colonies, not to even mention the colony cities themselves. He looked at Rose and Achilles as he shook his head with visible regret. He saw the meridian on Rose, as nobody would believe she had awakened today, and he had already seen the devastation of this other elemental advanced human, Achilles, who was mistaken as a physical reinforcement advanced human. I'm trapped in a ley line origin point with 3 unique elemental advanced humans who may all die with me. What in the holy hell, man? He grumbled words that caused Achilles to move towards him heavily. What? Ley line origin point? Words he didn't understand, but held shocking implications for anyone with common sense. Major David nodded with a tired sigh while looking at the distant pathway of the catacombs that had started to glow red. How do you think ley line fractures occur? It is when too many evolutionist beasts are concentrated in one place, causing the integrity of this region in the catacombs to break and spill out above the colony city. The breaking of a devil crystal will create exactly that phenomenon, as we are in the center of the place where a ley line fracture will start. Achilles had no words while Rose, behind him, was shocked. What the hell was this? They were just... Achilles grit his teeth heavily and clenched his fists, anger palpable in his eyes as he looked around while asking, "You said we could have a chance of surviving? How bad will this be? A few dozen upper-tier evolutionist beasts? or Lesser Meridian Transformation Evolutionist Beasts. He was gauging the level of danger with his own power that could not be measured by normal means, because he may just be able to. Hundreds. A word that caused Rose to gulp came out of Major David as he sighed and raised his head towards the distant path, glowing redder and redder. There are mainly lesser meridian transformation evolutionist beasts past here, with a few body modification evolutionist beasts. We are about to be swamped with hundreds of lesser meridian transformation evolutionist beasts. Hundreds of lesser meridian transformation evolutionist beasts. Even Achilles couldn't help but feel a chill at such a number as his eyes became redder and redder. He looked at Rose. He thought about what they had that seemed to just be budding. He would not lose this because of his hesitation and mistakes. He could not, if he had not stopped his vines when Major David roared out. No, he could not dwell too much on the past, as he asked once more. You said there was a chance to survive. How? Major David was silent momentarily, as if he was thinking about the how. Around them, the catacombs shook more and more as if something was about to gush out. We are trapped in here, with no way out. He began speaking slowly, as the crimson meridian on his right hand pulsed with power. His figure seemed to be turning a shade of crimson as he continued with a grave expression. Unless we have an evolutionist catacomb transfer crystal that sends one out of the catacombs, we should be trapped here, swarmed by evolutionist beasts until we are dead, and then a ley line fracture occurs. One of a scale involving meridian transformation evolutionist beasts, as it will decimate a large region of the colony city of Neon. Amos did all of this knowing those in here would not survive to tell the tale. And he is right in most cases. But there's a way out for us, and it is when that ley line fracture occurs. His eyes shone with a determined light as he said this. Their chance of survival was the ley line fracture itself. If we are still alive when it occurs, we simply spill out into the colony city above us. That is if we are still alive. A possible solution presented itself. Achilles listened to Major David as he looked towards Rose and nodded. Okay, so we survive until the ley line fracture. He said it with conviction, as if it had to be done. Whatever it took, it had to be done. He and Rose just started. He would not let it end this quickly. Yet Major David shook his head as he walked ahead, coming to stand between them and the flaming pathway in the distance that seemed to be getting hotter and hotter. Survival will not be easy because we cannot kill any of the evolutionist beasts that are about to rush out. They couldn't kill any of them. Why was this? The more evolutionist beasts gather here, the more concentrated something called the evolutionist energy factor becomes. When that energy factor reaches a certain threshold, it cannot be contained inside this small point of the catacombs, so it spills out. If we kill any evolutionist beasts, we will continue reducing this evolutionist energy factor until we are exhausted. Then we start dying one by one, and only then will more evolutionist beasts gather and cause the ley line fracture to occur. So, protect ourselves from ever-increasing lesser meridian transformation evolutionist beasts, and hope that we stay alive long enough until a fracture happens. Easy, right? Nobody replied. Achilles was thinking rapidly as he looked at Major David and his vibrant meridian. He also looked at the woman shrouded in black beside him, Eloise and her cold blue meridian. Pairing them with Rose, whose green flames should be even more astounding. And then himself, would they not be able to do it? No. He spoke out loud as his face filled with determination. There could be no question whether they could do it or not. It would have to be done. He stared at his panel and the many tidbits of information there as he nodded to himself, looking towards Major David, who was fidgeting with a device he had pulled out beside his pants. I won't be able to alert anyone down here, but as soon as the ley line fracture occurs and we step foot into the world above, I will instantly send a distress signal. After that, it would only take a few minutes for powerful meridian transformation advanced humans to arrive. I will even see if we can get the big guns to contain these evolutionist beasts as much as possible. Well, that is if we survive first. He carefully put the device away while looking towards the now entirely crimson, cavernous entrance in the distance, where roars could already be heard. All four of them gathered together as Rose nodded towards Eloise. Hello. The girl, surrounded by frost, only returned a small nod before looking towards the crimson entrance. We do not know each other well. At the forefront, Major David and Achilles stood side by side as the voice of the latter echoed out in the trembling space. We effectively have to trust each other to make sure we survive, and I know that is hard to do under these circumstances. If we had men under different circumstances, I would actually be trying to recruit you two to be in the same program as Eloise here. And maybe there will still be time for that if we survive. But one step at a time. First, let us see if we can pull off the impossible and survive against an onslaught of meridian transformation evolutionist beasts long enough for the fracture to occur. The voice of Major David was a heavy and thick one, his figure becoming entirely bathed with a crimson sheen as his body seemed ready to explode with heavy power at any moment. Achilles noted the level of heat and power this being gave off, as behind him and slightly to his left, he glanced at Rose, who had a face of focus. She glared towards the crimson entrance with stern eyes as she spoke when she saw Achilles' gaze. "Don't worry, little fatty. I can protect myself a lot with this meridian, and if anything comes close, it might just turn to ash." Her eyes pulsed with a deadly light of conviction, the green light within it being utterly bright, as if they only had to kill all of the evolutionist beasts that would come. There was no doubt that Rose might just release storms of green flames to scorch everything. Once more, Achilles could feel the beat of his heart, but it was clear, calculating. He felt the sensation of fullness within his body, even as the purple waves of light from the organic crystal echelon 2 coursed through him, his body feeling a continued and gradual sense of strengthening. And yet, it did not seem like he had hit a limit in terms of body modification. Not yet. So while no meridian formed, he could confidently say that his body was already more powerful than it was just a few minutes ago. He looked at all the things under his tool, his eyes honing in on the abilities, especially organic crystal, evolutionist crystal, echelon 2, obtained qualities of regeneration 2, energy conversion 2, flexibility 2, light manipulation 2, biological nurturing 2, and crystal manipulation 2. Assimilation, organic phanerogam, life form echelon 2, 10%. Obtained qualities of dermal armor 2, regeneration 2, photosynthetic 2, lightning physiology 2, abnormal endurance 2, and vine generation 2. Organic arachnida, life form echelon 1. Gained qualities of poison generation, appendage generation, exoskeletal armor, physical adherence, and thermoreception. He had a great deal of things he could utilize under his belt. The only thing was that this situation was extremely unfavorable, as he could not even assimilate or kill any of the evolutionist beasts in here until the ley line fracture occurred. And after it did occur, they would and above in the colony city of Neon, as there would be many eyes there already. It was revealed to Major David that he was not just a physical reinforcement advanced human. He did not want to reveal too much more, as he had to figure out how to navigate all of this carefully. At the same time, he had to make sure that he and Rose survived. So he thought carefully and quickly came to a decision. Since some things would come to light, he would selectively reveal things that were not too crucial, but make sure that a core part of his power remained hidden always. So in that case, he looked up. Would the ley line fracture open above? He thought of it the most basic way, as if there was to be a point in the catacombs that exploded up into the city. It should be above. Major David nodded in reply. It has always been discovered that way. After some time, the ley line fracture heals as that breakage of the catacombs closes, but until then, an area where a ley line fracture occurs will have to be monitored and guarded against for a few days or weeks. Why? Major David had begun to ask when the next moment, Achilles kneeled down and touched the floor of the evolutionist catacombs before a moment later, thick vines began to grow out around him. The vines were truly thick in nature, as they formed a trunk over 2 meters in size rapidly. Achilles bringing Rose to stand in the middle of the trunk with him, as he then spoke to Major David and Eloise. "Please get on." "A vine trunk?" Major David looked at this in surprise as he and Eloise went on it right after. The trunk made up of multiple vines extending in size as after that, it began to rise towards the cavernous ceiling. The ceiling was far above by at least 2 stories, and yet they rose towards it rapidly as the vines proliferated at a shockingly fast speed. Achilles kept his focus and only came to a stop when there were a few meters left between them and the ceiling. Major David and Eloise blinked as they looked at the distance down below. Well, damn. Major David had only just begun to speak when all of a sudden, the thick vine they were on that looked like a platform began transforming its exterior. A purple crystalline layer forming over it from the top and all the way down. It looked sleek and smooth like glass, akin to a surface nobody would be capable of climbing up on. Major David and Eloise showed genuine shock at this, while Rose nodded with pride when looking at Achilles. The root of the now crystalline vine trunk had a strong base that entrenched itself deeply into the earth, looking like a crystalline vine tower that could never fall. How strong are these crystal vines? Major David asked with shining eyes, as in the center of it all, Achilles did not even look like he broke a sweat while he used Vine Generation 2 and Crystal Manipulation 2 at the same time. He formed a massive tower that took them far above, as with this would things not be even easier? He breathed out as he replied firmly, "They should be strong enough." Ski! A screeching bellow that was grating to the ears bloomed. The crimson cavernous entrance ahead, distorting before it broke akin to an exploding volcano, and from this entrance, dozens of evolutionist beasts flooded out all at once. Terrifying lightning treants, yes. But in addition to them, there were other variations of treants who flashed with poisonous green lights or sharp, jagged teeth over massive mouth-like leaves. And most terrifying of all, on multiple of these evolutionist beasts, massive meridians shone on their bodies. Most were blue and buzzing with a heavy light of power, thick tendrils of lightning surrounding them as they even smashed into the earth with heavy booms. Others had green meridians, their bodies surrounded by poisonous green mist swirling around them. Others had white meridians as their bodies had sharp bones protruding in different places. It looked like an eruption of deadly mobile trees with ferocious expressions, as in just a few seconds, dozens of meridian transformation evolutionist beasts advanced, and while surrounded by even more numerous body modification evolutionist beasts. They roared out with heavy malice all around as they soon came below the crystalline vine tower, gazing above as they roared out. Ski! From below, bolts of lightning began to be thrown out, alongside bony spears from other treants and globes of poison from others. At the same time, the treants, with storms of tendrils of lightning around them, smashed onto the crystalline tower, intending to knock it down entirely. All the while this occurred, more and more evolutionist beasts filled the cavernous space. It was a scene that would be more than enough to induce horror. Throngs of dozens of evolutionist beasts rushed out, and they only continued to come as they threw their bodies to slam onto the crystal vine tower Achilles had enacted as if mad. The treants threw lightning, bone spikes, and globules of poison to all surge far above where the figures of Achilles and others were. At this time, as if they wanted to earn their keep, the girl shrouded with black clothing and coldness spread her hands out, waves of ice walls erupting out in a circular motion around them as they blocked the incoming volleys of attacks. Boom! But that was just the first. After this, more and more attacks continued to come as the glacial wall began to crack, and it was here when Major David breathed in. His chest expanded before he proceeded to open his jaws, and a heavy and scorching stream of lava, like flames, surged out from him. He moved around the crystal vine tower to breathe these flames out all around as they smashed onto the attacks coming their direction, with some even falling down and landing on the evolutionist beasts as they roared out. After that, the beasts mindlessly continued to throw attacks up while also smashing into the crystal vine tower. But it never broke. It never even showed any cracks, as if it was the most stable thing in the world. Goodness! The young girl who did not speak much, Eloise, turned towards Achilles and uttered this word as even Major David was looking at the thick crystal vine tower around them with amazement. From Eloise, her eyes became stern as she brought her hands together, immense cold erupting around them as what looked to be an igloo wrapped all around them. Like a protective barrier of coldness that the attacks of evolutionist beasts smashed into. Boom! The attacks were relentless as the igloo trembled every single second and broke into chunks. This whole time, her white blue meridian glowed with a vibrant light as she breathed out waves of cold. Good. Just so that we don't get exhausted, we'll rotate on the next volley of attacks as more and more of them fill up the surrounding space. This is better than I could have hoped for. Major David had a beaming smile as at this point, he genuinely believed that they should be capable of making it out. If the Crystal Vine Tower, enacted by Achilles, continued to be this strong and not break as they just defended from long-range attacks. Boom! The igloo conjured by Eloise began to break as she spoke out in a small voice. Can't hold it for too long. She spoke with frost coming out of her mouth, her eyes filled with determination. Major David nodded as his crimson meridian pulsed, turning towards Achilles and Rose. Young lady, you got the next volley of attacks. He spoke to Rose because he innately expected for Achilles to have drawn a lot of his power to enact and keep this Crystal Vine Tower up. Rose looked towards Major David and nodded as soon. The igloo around them began to break amidst the booms of thunder, poison, and bones. The moment it began to fall apart with gaps being created, SAA, green flames began to light up around it. On Rose, her hand pulsed as the green meridian on it glowed with verdant radiance. The moment even a shred of her green flames arose, the igloo of ice that Eloise had deployed rapidly melted as the surroundings heated up, when more and more flames arose around them and burned like a circular shield. Any lightning, poison, or bones that even neared, it melted inches away. Melted, even the blasts of thick lightning. Major David and Eloise were shocked as alongside this, their own bodies felt a stifling level of heat, Major David being alarmed at this while Eloise, she slumped down while layers of ice covered her and melted soon after as if they met their natural enemy. She looked towards Rose with grievances as she knew the flames were there to protect them. But even though they were meters away, they were still so scorching. Rose saw this as she smiled apologetically, with Achilles placing his hand on her shoulder as he spoke out. It's okay. You can extinguish them. His voice was strong and confident, as if he knew exactly what he needed to do, and he was sure it would succeed. Rose's flames were far too powerful and scorching for others as at this moment, as he felt the impact of multiple evolutionist beasts on the Crystal Vine Tower. He was even more confident in what he could do. Rose looked back at him as she nodded, motioning with her hands as her green flames flashed out below them before dispersing. Ski! The beasts below had felt the heat even from afar as they screamed out, feeling the threat from these flames that actually did not come down to scorch them. They only paused briefly. After that, they resumed their relentless attacks, volleys of lightning, bones, and blobs of poison shooting out. This time, before they arrived, Achilles stood on the Crystal Vine Tower he enacted with a cold gaze of contained anger. Crystal Manipulation 2 and Vine Generation 2 worked hand in hand as tough crystal vines began to sprout like flowers around the peak of the tower, forming a circular purple crystal barrier that covered all of them entirely. It closed off above them entirely as right after, the bolts of lightning and other attacks arrived. And only muffled sound could be heard within as when the lightning bolts hit. It felt like they were drained of their power rapidly as they dispersed. When the blobs of poison hit, they thinned and lost their luster. When the bony attacks hit, they shattered into smaller pieces of bone that scattered. All of this was scantly visible to those within as Major David looked at this incredulously. Just what exactly is your ability factor? His expression carried great incredulity as he stared at the attacks of dozens of Meridian Transformation evolutionist beasts smash into the crystal vines enacted by Achilles, as none of them had any effect. These were multiple attacks of Meridian Transformation evolutionist beasts. Their numbers would soon spill over 100 as even he and Eloise would be feeling a strain after a few volleys of attacks. But Achilles, not only did he enact a crystal vine tower, but he even enclosed it around them as his expression did not change. No tiredness, no labored breathing, just contained rage in his eyes that was rightly deserved, as seeing the continued fact that no attacks were coming through, Major David finally breathed out and sat down as he touched the crystal vine tower below it. He exerted pressure lightly, and then with a bit more force, and then with a lot of force as his arm even turned a shade of red and released steam. But not even a mark was left in the crystal vine tower. Major David was shocked, as who was he? He was a lesser meridian transformation advanced human, as he knew many things. The grasp of his power was one such thing he knew as for him to not even be capable of breaking the conjured crystal vines of someone that had not even awakened their meridians. You are a transcendent advanced human. He spoke out in a daze as he turned towards Achilles. Eloise had her mouth open in a small O as she looked towards Achilles in shock, while Rose became serious at such words as she got closer to Achilles. Major David saw all of this as he shook his head. Forgive me, it is just, I'm not even sure about what I said. But out there, in this vast world of Athemia, there have been advanced humans that, at the time of awakening, showed shocking power. In the colony cities, one can be designated in the general class of advanced humans or the greater unique class of advanced humans. 99.999% of all advanced humans would fit into those two categories. But every now and then, advanced humans would awaken who entirely did not fit the scales of body modification at their initial awakening, carrying power that could even rival meridian transformation. Such beings eventually grew to become pillars of the colony cities, or they died very, very young. Major David spoke a great deal as Achilles became stern at the end of the long-winded speech. Transcendent advanced human? Him? With his ability of assimilation, he didn't know if he would even fit into something like that. But the fact that such advanced humans could either become pillars of colony cities or die early was not something he wanted. He was not someone who looked at the colony city of Neon as anything grand. He even hated many parts of it, and the system that nearly allowed Rose to die. The slums they had to live on, while the wealthy advanced humans rode on flying vessels and lived on massive high-rise skyscrapers. The constant threat and worry that at any moment, an advanced human could appear and do anything they wished and no repercussions would occur for them. All of it was just worry and stress. Back then, he did not look at this colony city of Neon and have any fond feelings, nor did he have such feelings now. As bad as it may sound, all he cared about was Rose. He did not care about becoming some pillar, nor did he want to die young. His eyes flashed sharply as Major David continued. They either become renowned or die early due to none other than advanced humans. So don't worry, I won't mention this to anyone, but I will ask you to consider something for me. You have yet to awaken your meridian, and yet you can easily enact a structure that no lesser meridian transformation evolutionist beast can get through. This makes me confident in my evaluation of you. As due to this, I will ask you to consider joining a special department of the Linares Colony Overseers once all of this is over. He spoke freely, seeing how Achilles did not confirm or deny anything as he continued. He looked down towards the evolutionist beasts, who increased in number every second, their eyes crimson with a maddened light of destruction, as when they could not break the crystal vine tower. They even threw their bodies and smashed into it while they screamed. It was utter madness. You see, evolutionist beasts are in all the catacombs that stretch out across our world Athemia. Over the last dozen years, we reclaimed our power and made renewed advancements all around. But there's been tumultuous activity within the colony cities recently. Within the catacombs under colony cities, more frequent ley line fractures, stronger evolutionist beasts appearing. It seems that a time of great conflict is coming once more, with the words left behind by the first transcendent advanced human becoming more real and present than ever before. Oh, at this moment, Achilles' attention was entirely piqued as he looked closer at Major David. Around them, Attacks of evolutionist beasts flailed and broke apart the moment they hit. But the air around them changed. Major David, with the sign of the Linares colony overseers bright on his garments, began to vibrate with heat as he looked at the evolutionist beasts swarming in the distance. The first transcendent advanced human has long since disappeared in our eyes, as nobody knows where they are. Nobody knows if they are alive or dead. Some even say that they sacrificed their life, and it is how we were able to gain these past decades of peace. But before he set off for the last time, he spoke some words to the legends of Euthymia that we know today. He said, the heat around Major David became heavy as he recited words as if possessed. When the earthen veil is obscured and plundered, when the great weaving wakes from slumber, when meridians of blood stretch out for miles and form into a sea, when the whispers of change seethe with turbidity, when friends sever the lives of friends and children sever the lives of parents, Euthymia shall break, Euthymia shall change, and ushered in will be the great darkness, infallible and irreversible, the descent of the olden era of past and present, the rise of what was buried in eons of obscurity, infallible, irreversible. It felt like all light was drained in the area as Major David spoke of the words left behind by the first transcendent advanced human. It was only now that Achilles realized he had stopped breathing, and he was not the only one. What the shit is that? Rose cursed out as she felt her heart beating fast. They were just words. It should have just been words. And yet, why do they all feel like their throats were dry just listening to them? What the hell, David? Even Eloise, who did not speak much, could not help but look at Major David in shock as he uttered these words. She had never heard them before. When the earthen veil is obscured and plundered, when the great weaving wakes from slumber, when meridians of blood stretch out for miles and form into a sea, when the whispers of change seethe with turbidity, when friends sever the lives of friends and children sever the lives of parents, Euthymia shall break, Euthymia shall change, and ushered in will be the great darkness, infallible and irreversible, the descent of the olden era of past and present, the rise of what was buried in eons of obscurity, infallible, irreversible. Such words buzzed in their minds as if from this point on, they would never be forgotten, as if they would always stay. Major David seemed to have come out of a trance after he spoke, as he shook his head as if to dispel an influence, his face becoming apologetic. My apologies. These are just words passed down to me by my superior. Nobody knows the extent of truth they hold. Nobody knows what they could mean. But we know something is coming, we just do not know what. His eyes were unfocused, as if he was thinking about too many things. He sought to focus his gaze as he honed in on the evolutionist beast below and spoke once more. Over years of research, do you know what we have found out about the evolutionist beasts? The one thing we learned with surety is their total lack of empathy towards anything else. Some have structure, and some lead others. But even a mother wolf that just gave birth to a mutt in the catacombs could turn that same mutt into a meal that night if she didn't find food. Towards us, towards humans, they hold us in no regard. They lack any sort of empathy as in their minds. There is even the drive to kill and kill relentlessly. We do not know why, but all of it has only made a single thing clear, that in the end, it will either be us or them. There will be no coexistence. This is why the Linares colony overseers have begun designing secret programs to get us ready, to prepare for what is to come. Programs that recruit the future legends of Euthymia and form groups that are above the influence of organizations or factions. Advanced humans working within the throngs of the Linares colony overseers, but not influenced by the colony senate or heads of state. The Lunarian program. Boom! His body erupted with a silent burst of power as he said this. Eloise becoming silent beside him while Achilles and Rose looked at each other. They did not know or want any of this. They just wanted to safely be with each other. But that is my pitch for the future. You two are each remarkable in your own ways, but I have yet to meet a body modification advanced human who could, without breaking a sweat, defend against over 100 lesser meridian transformation evolutionist beasts. You are the perfect candidate, and I hope you give me a chance to show more of our government than what you know of before you decide. I know for a lot of people how dangerous the colony cities can be. I know how the government may not necessarily make you feel safe. I know. Even within the Linares colony overseers, we are hidden and stem from the most direct and powerful source. Well, as far as a little guy like me knows. But please give it time. Do not decide just yet. And BZZT. The space around them began to buzz and tremble. Down below, hundreds of evolutionist beasts had charged in as it seemed utterly filled with maddened, roaring creatures. It seems the fracture is about to occur. Please save as many people nearby as you can, and the rest will be taken care of. The most dangerous part that Major David thought their whole lives would be in peril here turned out to be the easiest. Achilles' capability could actually defend fully from a large number of lesser meridian transformation evolutionist beasts, and this made everything ridiculously straightforward. But once all these, and even more, spilled out into the colony city, into swathes of people, vehicles, and buildings, it would be utter chaos as their surroundings shook. Achilles went towards Rose as he thought about everything that Major David had said. His worries right now were singular, but those last words that some transcendent advanced human uttered out continued to ring in his mind as he couldn't seem to shake them off. He did not like any of what they said, as he still felt very weak in the face of things like that. He didn't feel secure. He didn't feel like Rose was protected enough. So he came before her and grasped her hands as, little fatty, her heart sped up as she didn't know what he was about to do in front of others. But it was nothing too crazy as brilliant light erupted from him, a thin layer of vines erupting out and beginning to cover the skin over Rose like a bodysuit. She was shocked as she felt the vines as if they were a fabric covering her skin entirely. It spread over her hands and went toward her arms, and in her shock, she quickly remembered how Achilles had mentioned that even these vines were akin to an extension of his limbs. His limbs. Did his limbs not feel? If he was intending to do what she believed, would these vines not cover every part of her body, as he would be able to directly feel everything? Her face became entirely red at this point as she thought of what he would feel if he extended this vine bodysuit to truly cover everything. Achilles was able to clearly read the reason why Rose's face turned red, and he laughed lightly as he did not go under the white dress shirt but over it, as there was a layer of clothing between his vines and her shirt. The vine fabric spread past her shoulders and covered her chest entirely before it passed her midpoint and entirely covered her lower body, too. And after that, this whole bodysuit of vines turned purple as it developed crystalline properties. Rose's whole body looked like it became adorned in a sleek purple bodysuit that protected her entirely. Achilles looked at his work as he nodded. In here, there were the qualities of Vine Generation 2, Crystal Manipulation 2, Dermal Armor 2, Flexibility 2, Energy Conversion 2, Regeneration 2, Abnormal Endurance 2, and Exoskeletal Armor. He would call it your natural evolutionist suit. Rose blinked at his naming sense before she sighed with a smile. Yes, my own natural evolutionist suit. Thank you, little fatty. You don't need one. Did he not need something similar? He smiled and shook his head at this, as his skin already had all those qualities, as well as the layers of thick muscles, vessels, and bones. Every single part of him already had the terrifying qualities of the things he assimilated, as it was the reason why he could do all the things he did. Seeing his confident expression, Rose nodded as the two of them were ready. Major David stared at the suit around Rose with shining eyes, as he wasn't so shameless as to ask one for himself. But if he was able to cover Eloise as well. He looked at the girl he was training as he shook his head, the shaking around them becoming intense. Get ready. He didn't know just how many hundreds of evolutionist beasts had gathered down below, but the evolutionist energy factor must have reached a critical amount as, at this moment, waves of purple light began to surge upwards, towards the ceiling of the evolutionist catacombs right above them. They watched this phenomenon with rapt attention as in the next second, The purple crystalline barrier that Achilles enacted began to open up above them. The crystal vine tower was raised at the very center of cavernous space, as the point above was the one accumulating dense waves of purple light, this whole area becoming distorted as cracks began to spread around it. Achilles looked at this with careful eyes, as intuitively he could sense the purple waves of energy gathering above. What Major David knew to be the level of evolutionist energy factor, but it felt far too familiar, as if it were along the same lines as the purple seas of energy coursing throughout his body at this moment. It might take a minute or two as it gathers energy. Be ready. Major David was tense as in his hands. A device was already in place to make a distress call. Achilles only heard his voice in passing as he wanted to confirm something. He tapped into the top of the crystal vine tower that he just opened as he allowed a small portion of the dense purple waves of seas inside of him to leak out into the atmosphere. And BZZT. The waves of purple light in the surroundings acted like they were supercharged, sparks flying as in the next moment. Crack! The ceiling above them began to break. Achilles hid his surprise as his heart beat loudly, thinking about the implications of this that were utterly wild. If he was capable of aiding in the progression of a ley line fracture, could he also initiate one himself? Not that he wanted to, but just a thought. And if he could have the capability to call as many evolutionist beasts to surge towards him, would this not make the task of assimilation incredibly easy? The devil crystal that Amos shattered. He simply needed to get his hands on something like that. Even now, this situation held a level of danger that he was mitigating, but there was still abundant opportunity to assimilate from it. He looked down below as the ceiling above was cracking. There were many evolutionist beasts down there. Many would have to rush through here to get out of the evolutionist catacombs. If he could take some down before they came to the surface above and assimilated their bodies and evolutionist crystals, even without anyone or cameras picking anything up, his eyes flashed with purple brilliance. As for how he could do this, the crystal vine tower felt like an extension of his indestructible limbs that even the evolutionist beast could not break. When all the vines that made it were unfolded and used to attack with bolts of lightning, poison, and sharp crystals, it was a possibility that caused Achilles to look forward to as his heart felt a great need. A need to assimilate as much as possible. Why? Amos was the first example, and what Major David had said was another. He said after all these years of peace, there had been undercurrents. More powerful evolutionist beasts rising, more ley line fractures, and a nail in the head were the so-called words uttered by the first transcendent advanced human. If anything about them was true, those who were weak would not have control of their lives at all. He looked towards Rose. He knew in his heart that even if she did not know it, this woman entirely had his heart in her palm. She may not truly know how much she meant to him. She may never know the extent of what he would do for her. It scared him sometimes just how much his being was entrenched based on her, as he really could not help it. When he had nothing to live for, she was there to make him feel alive. He wanted to see her for the years to come. He wanted her to be safe and to be able to smile. Against the threats of advanced humans and against the threats of evolutionist beasts and whatever else was coming from what the words of the first transcendent advanced human stated. To be able to protect her and make sure he was also alive to enjoy his time with her, he realized he would have to assimilate every single thing that he was able to and become powerful enough to the point that nobody could threaten Rose. His world rose. Boom! The ceiling above cracked. His eyes shone decisively as he was ready. Instantly, they felt a shocking suction force as if gravity was inverted, their bodies and the bodies of evolutionist beasts down below starting to rise from this cavernous space and flowing upwards. The four of them were the first ones to fly upwards from this suction force as around them. They saw a torn purple earth that led up a massive hole. At the end of this hole was an expansive sky covered by a distant barrier of the colony city of Neon. It was the start of a ley line fracture, and Achilles and Rose were literally at the center of it, their bodies being the first to surge out. A ley line fracture. Even as it occurred, and everything pointed above, Achilles kept most of his attention below as he focused on the risen crystal vine tower. Through it, he could feel as if it were his own limbs. But he also held thermoreception. Could he not be capable of sensing with his limbs as well? He had this thought and spread his senses out across the crystal vine tower. He pumped even more purple waves of light into it as he activated thermoreception, and his vision felt like it was divided in two right away. One was the tunnel they surged through as they went up. The other was a vision down below where he saw things as if they were blue or red, hot or devoid of heat, and he saw hundreds of energy signatures roaring and rising up. He even saw the most heat that was gathered near their heads, clusters of evolutionist crystals that powered these entities. He also saw the most heat concentrated on many heat signatures that had a meridian. The meridian was like a line of heat blinding everything. But when Achilles saw it, all he could do was wonder. Just how much would he gain from assimilating lesser meridian transformation evolutionist beasts? Would the slow number of Echelon 2 begin rising again rapidly? He did not know for sure, but he knew that the more powerful the thing he was absorbing, the more they contributed to the rise of the echelons. So, now that there were no eyes in the catacombs down below and the ley line fracture had already occurred, BZZT, the crystal vine tower began to buzz with arcs of lightning. It looked like a solid structure, and yet in the next moment, it began to unwind terrifically. From the top, the many solid crystal vines turned into dozens of sharp-pointed crystal vines coated with cracking lightning. Waves of green poison also covering them, as in the next moment, towards the unsuspecting evolutionist beasts that were madly roaring with fervor at being released above. These crystal vines struck out, like terrifying venomous snakes cracking with lightning. Achilles flung them toward the heads of multiple lesser meridian transformation evolutionist beasts, targeting the center of their meridians and heads where their evolutionist crystals were gathered, while also using other vines to wrap around and constrict their bodies while smashing them with lightning. Boom, boom, and right away, he learned the difference between body modification evolutionist beasts and lesser meridian transformation evolutionist beasts. Their bodies were thicker, their defenses heavier. A layer of power covered them. As for these beasts, he didn't get through them like butter, but he was still able to pierce into their defenses just a little, a tiny bit, and they instantly felt it and began to roar and fight back. But at that time, he truly let loose crystal manipulation too. Through the small, pinpoint tips of the vines, there was an explosion of purple light as an eruption of jagged and sharp purple crystals bloomed like deadly flowers, skewering the bodies of the lesser meridian transformation trance in a deadly blow. First, he bypassed their natural energy shield generated by their single meridian, and he then skewered their bodies as these evolutionist beasts roared in tremendous pain. And to top it all off, crackle, lightning and poison coursed through their skewered bodies as they became utterly fried thereafter. For many of them, their meridian was perforated as it leaked out vibrant waves of energy, their bodies no longer able to protect themselves amidst these volleys of attacks. It didn't matter that they were of the lesser meridian transformation. So long as he bypassed their defenses, they fell. In a short few seconds, he did this to 13 lesser meridian transformation evolutionist beasts. And in his heart, he yelled out, "Assimilate! Ichium!" A resonant, booming hum echoed out as the bodies of the meridian transformation evolutionist beasts turned into brilliant liquid light that flowed into the vines and directly bloomed within Achilles' body. As his body and Rose's body saw the blinding lights of the colony city of Neon that was already approaching dusk, he had the input of the largest amount of assimilations so far, absorbing 13 things that were supposedly higher in tier than he was. He was in the body modification stage. They were lesser meridian transformation evolutionist beasts, and yet he assimilated them and the dazzling evolutionist crystals within their bodies, of which there were 12 crystals that looked like vibrant purple flowers within. Lesser meridian transformation evolutionist crystals. Taking all of this in, His body felt a heavy explosion of power like never before as he saw the percentages in front of organic crystals and organic phanerogam life form shoot up rapidly. On each of them, they jumped by 2.5% every second as an entire lesser meridian transformation evolutionist beast was assimilated in that period of time. And Achilles was not picky. Just as the crystal vine tower unfurled menacingly and shot out its sharp vines towards lesser meridian transformation evolutionist beasts, they also did not look down on the upper and middle tier body modification evolutionist beasts. These were even easier to kill and all that much more numerous. A single vine was enough to pierce through their defenses, electrocute them, and then assimilate them. Waves of multiple dazzling liquids surged into Achilles in a short time span, the numbers on his panel rapidly changing as both percentages already crossed 30%. This was just a few seconds after the start of a ley line fracture. As he began a massacre down below, where nobody could see, BZZT, the very earth of the colony city of Neon, near the catacomb entrance number 11 cracked and opened up, a column of purple light gushing out heavily as it was near a 5-story hotel a few miles away from catacomb entrance number 11. The blast of eruption above decimated a side of the building. Bodies of normal humans who were unlucky enough to be right above it flung out like rag dolls as their bodies either flew to the skies or smashed onto the side of the hotel. Screams began to echo out at the sheer horror as in the next second. Whoosh! For humanoid figures rose first from the fractured earth. Achilles and Rose arrived just in time to see the scene of devastation, with vines releasing from Achilles to catch 7 normal humans who were flung into the skies and were currently unconscious, not knowing if they were dead or not. It was just the advent of a ley line fracture. The very beginning. It was one of the most dangerous events that could occur inside a colony city with heavy populations. A ley line fracture, as such a shocking phenomenon bloomed in a corner of the colony city of Neon. Another event took place inside of one of the tallest skyscrapers in this colony city. A huge building with the word Titan inscribed atop it as it radiated power and glory. Its exterior shone with glowing glass materials as it seemed capable of withstanding damage even from body modification evolutionist beasts. On one of the highest floors of such a building, ding, an exclusive elevator that only a few people in this entire skyscraper had access to open its doors, and a worn-out figure of Amos came out of the elevator while chugging multiple red vials that radiated vibrant energy and life. His chest and skin were scorched and trying to heal, but a terrifying poison seemed to be covering them as his constant drinking of potions only kept it at bay. His expression was livid, but he gradually calmed down as he entered a room expertly designed with blue and white marbled and glass walls. Opposite him stood a magnificent wide white table made of prized marble, and at its center, a tall man with broad shoulders and a heavy countenance sat on a leather executive chair made from the skin of an unknown evolutionist beast. His mere body alone caused the expression of rage within Amos to be hidden as he spoke out while coming forward, his left hand still missing. "I made a mistake, Father," he began simply. His voice was much more reined in as even he feared this man ahead of him. A lesson learned after years of growing up. Unlike him, the hair on his father was black and blue, not the full blue that he held. He turned around at this moment, as his visage alone would be enough to shock others. His blue eyes were piercing, and rightfully so as shockingly. Each eye held a twirling blue meridian. Each pupil had a meridian activated inside of it. But this was not all. His right hand held a blue meridian, and so did his left hand, both his legs, and there was even a dazzling meridian lit up on the center of his chest. This was no lesser meridian transformation advanced human. This was not even a greater meridian transformation advanced human. The fact that his eyes, an organ, had awakened their meridians meant that this being had already embarked on the path of a peak meridian transformation advanced human, one of the largest shareholders of the Titan Industries. Known as the Lightning Titan, Solomon He looked at the state of his son and nodded calmly at this moment as he pushed out a tablet that held the pictures and information of none other than Achilles and Rose. I know. Desmond has been keeping me updated. You became infatuated with this woman, which I can completely understand. What did things go wrong? And what lesson did you take from this? His eyes were cold, as he also had access to the evaluation video of both Rose and Achilles on other screens. Of course, his father could find out all his movements and what he did, as he was always using his resources to get things done. Amos knew this, as he was not surprised, only looking down as he replied speedily. I entirely underestimated newly awakened advanced humans, placing them in the category of others. That Achilles Maxwell had not yet awakened a meridian as far as I saw, and he was the one to do this to me. The calm eyes of his father opened wide at such words. The puny, ugly kid? Not the girl. He had to be surprised. Such a thing could almost be considered impossible to even imagine, as what could allow a body modification advanced human to heavily injure a lesser meridian transformation advanced human. The lightning titan, Solomon, shook his head at this as he spoke. Then you did not make a mistake. You simply came across an anomaly. But how did you deal with it? His cold, calculating gaze pierced through the space between them as he asked Amos. I crushed a devil crystal and utilized a transfer crystal to escape. But another factor appeared. A major of the Linares colony overseers and his followers were also contained in that enclosed space. Due to the accumulation of beasts and eventual ley line fracture, they should all have guaranteed deaths. He spoke with his head down as his father became silent before he sighed. Therein lies your true mistake. If you err and make new enemies, always confirm their deaths before you cross them off your list. A ley line fracture within the bounds of catacomb entrance number 11. All right, let's go make sure your mistake is resolved. We will also use this as a chance to extend the reach of the Titan Industries. Through calamities, there are always means for profit. His eyes were bright, as the pressure he exuded was heavy. Amos hesitated as he knew the state of his body, but as if his father could read his mind. SAA. Solomon threw out a vial that held golden liquid inside of it. Amos caught it cautiously while his father's words boomed out. A peak meridian transformation healing potion made from the heart blood of a volcanic mastiff. Don't make me carry out expenditures like this too often. You will tarnish the memory of your mother. The love of a father for his son was vibrant as Amos smiled and opened the vial, drinking the golden liquid. Thank you, father. Dumb. His heart beat wildly as his torn and poisoned skin expelled all foreign particles, rapidly beginning to heal as the stump that went up to his shoulders had a painful sensation while a new arm began to grow. Limb regeneration. Some potions made from the blood of powerful beasts had shocking properties. The body of Amos becoming bathed with a flashing golden light as he became as good as new and even stronger as well. He could swear that he could now begin sensing his second meridian, as within the next few days, he may just be able to awaken his left hand's meridian. Let's go. I will have other strike teams converge in that position. His father beckoned at him as he pressed a button. The reinforced glass sliding open, showing the darkening skies of the colony city of Neon that began to light up with different colored radiance. The wind began whipping around them as father and son stared down their skyscraper, seeing the many aerial evolutionist vehicles stationed nearby and others floating in the distance as they both jumped out gloriously.